Bam. We are live. If you are checking out this video not live, you're probably going to want to fast forward like 5 minutes. I'll put the timestamp in the description. I'm going to hang for a minute, let people get in here, and then we will do this thing. You're also going to see my arms because I am going to post this on Twitter right now because I haven't automated it and I have to reach right in front of the screen to do that. How's it going though, if you're watching this right now? It's going pretty well on my end. Yeah, camera is working. We're all good. I'm going to go to Twitter. Alright. I have to go to YouTube. I have to copy and paste my own stream as though I'm going to watch it. I haven't. Whoa. Don't want to hear my own voice. Nobody wants to hear that. I can see the chat. No one's in the chat yet. Who's going to be first? Alright. Just going to reach over everything. I made live capital, but I'm going to make live lowercase so I can put now in all caps. Alright, I'm going to grab that image, make the post. It's that time again. Yes, it is. How am I doing today? Ooh, we got thunderstorm style. That's tight. It's getting hot here, and I'm hoping it doesn't get too much hotter in my undisclosed location. Let's see. Where is... I can never see it. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Boom. I've tweeted it. You guys are here without the tweet though. This is the real crew. The crew that doesn't need to see the tweet to come in. Presumably you remembered, you have bell activation, something like that. That's legit. Alright. And now that I posted it on Twitter, I'm going to close Twitter. Boom. Alright. What's up guys? I should paint a black square. Yeah, that's so funny actually. Actually, it's really funny because there's this painter named, I think his name's Malevich. I've heard people say his name's named differently. He's a Russian guy. He's like the... It's hard to hear me. Oh no. Let's see. I'm using a different mic. My mic cable stopped working, so I had to use this other mic. Well, I'm sitting up now. I'm closer to the mic now. How's it sound right now? Put it even a little closer. Mic check. Checking the mic. I checked it before, just so you know. We're on a very professional situation here. So I did check it before, but someone said it was hard to hear me. So now I'll do the audience check. Notification crew. How do I sound on the mic? Do I sound okay? I checked it before. Someone said they couldn't hear me, so I guess I'll check again right now. Hear you fine. Yeah. All right, cool. I can see the little volume knob, so it looks like it's going up pretty high. I don't want to be like screaming at people. I could though. I could. So yeah, I figured we just chill for a minute. Yeah, it's probably because I sat back pretty far. I have like one of those really nice like Yeti Blue mics that like everyone has, but I recorded a video last night. It was fine. Came in today. It wasn't working, so I'm using my friend's mic right now. Nice. A lot of people here. Cool. So we'll just hang. You guys know the deal. We'll hang for just like a minute, let people come in, and then we will do this thing. Someone said something really funny. I should paint a black square. Yeah, it's really funny because this painter, Malevich, this Russian painter, he's one of the first like abstract painters ever. And one of his paintings is a black square. So I was like, wow, it'd be really funny to just like post the black square if I still have like normie social media and stuff. Which I don't, obviously. He also has a painting of a white square if anyone's trying to like troll on Facebook or whatever in the weirdest way possible. Yeah, let's talk. We'll talk for a minute and then we'll get it going. We'll wait like 2-3 minutes and then we'll do this. I like to start on time, but I also just like to let people like come in. So, you had a thread about people whose art has been influenced by entities like lower angels. Has something similar ever happened to you in your art? That's interesting. Not directly. That's like my dream. Honestly, I always joke with my wife. I'm like, why can't like an angel just like come to the studio and like literally tell me what to do? That would just be so much easier. No, but I do often feel like I kind of just get my ideas wholesale like delivered to me, honestly. Yeah, dude, actually, yeah, the wire broke. That's what happened actually on the Yeti mic. So yeah, I do get my ideas kind of like wholesale delivered to me. I was kind of like exaggerating like for effect in that thread, although it does happen to some people that they literally just get in contact with some like voice in their head and they like make all their art from it. I posted one example of that. But no, it's interesting. For me, like the analogy would really be like you hold out like half the puzzle piece and then the other half gets like completed in some way. So yeah, for me, for art, I could like fake it for art, honestly. Like I could sit down and, if someone like broke into my house and like made me make a painting or something and I had no ideas, I could fake it and like make a pretty good painting. But for writing, I need to have the idea total, complete. Basically, it just like pops up in my mind like complete. Like for all the comics I made, especially those like 4-page ones where it's like a little like story basically, I would just be sitting here and I'd be like, deep fryer. It's something there, deep fryer, and then I'm like, boom, oh, perfect, and I can see it in my mind from start all the way to the end. So that's usually how it happens. So it's kind of like if I had to make a joke about it, it would be like, oh, an angel just like gave me some ideas, but I don't really think it's that simple necessarily. Although I'm not dismissing if there is some entity stewarding the studio, I'm not dismissing it because it's going pretty well. So I don't take the credit for it. We'll put it that way. Doesn't Malevich's black square have a little white dot in the middle? Yeah, it might. It has some cracks and stuff on it now because it's so old. Anything else we should talk about? What's the simplest thing above monochromatic geometric shapes? Something more simple than that? Probably just a straight up blank canvas where it's one color. All right. It's 7:08. Wow, meant to wait till 7:05. Let's do this. Pulling up OBS. I'm going to click the right button this time. I clicked the wrong button the last 2 times. Let's see if I click the right one. Are you amped right now? All right, and it's happening. How's it going, everyone? We are back Tuesday night. It's time for the painting show. Intro music, Painted Worlds. It's a painting show, Painted Worlds. We didn't plan it that way, but we could have. Check it out. It's on Bandcamp and Spotify. He's really dope. So check him out. Otherwise, guys, how are you doing? It's been a crazy day. I tried to stay a little bit off social media today, honestly, but of course I failed miserably, and I was on it just trying to feel out the zeitgeist. I feel like the zeitgeist is really like my main interest in all that stuff, so I've entered this kind of phase of my life where I'm like, yeah, like I live in like a fallen world where most people are totally and completely under the sway of like dark forces that they'll never comprehend in any capacity. And I'm kind of just dumb enough that I figured it out a little bit, and I just don't really want to bang my head against that brick wall anymore. So I'm not apathetic. I care about society, helping people and stuff like that, but I also am not trying to push like a mountain like by myself. So I'm kind of tapped out. Not tapped out. Obviously, I'm on social media like every day. But I try not poison myself. Let's put it that way. I try not like aggressively poison myself if I don't need to. But I think my main interest is like the zeitgeist. And today, with everyone posting like the black squares and everything, like yeah, I had to like check it out, obviously. Also on Instagram, I did this thing since I'm really interested in like the zeitgeist. I just followed like a ton of like literally random people, just like a random assortment of people. Just because I don't follow like people I know on social media, obviously, just to get like a feel for like what people are doing and talking about. And yeah, it's like a psyop, man. I mean, I don't really have that strong of an opinion about like the specifics, but like it's pretty interesting just being like hardcore on the ground, and you're like, wow, everyone's really gotten on the same page, kind of put it that way. But we'll probably talk about that as we go on. Anyway, so I got some stuff planned right now, and I'm amped about it. To give you a little window into my personal life, I almost want to just, after the years of building up anonymity, my dad just texted me a crazy picture of him having caught one of the biggest fish I've like ever seen in my life. It's actually mind-blowing, and I almost want to just throw away all the anonymity and show you guys right now, but I'm not going to. But that's really awesome. I wish I was fishing in general. Anyway, though, so yeah, man, I got some stuff planned. In general, I thought, intro to the show, get it rolling a little bit. I wanted to pull a book off my shelf and maybe just hit like a random book, like not talk about it too much, but just like plug it, because I have this whole bookshelf of like crazy books here. But I did get an interesting piece of like spiritual ephemera, so we'll look at that real quick and then we'll just get it going, kind of like the warm up for the show right now. So maybe you guys have heard of this thing called Our Lady of America. It's kind of interesting. This like nun, I think she was a nun, had these visions where she saw like Virgin Mary and Archangel Michael and all that stuff. So it's kind of like, there's all these different Virgin Mary apparitions. And that was one of them. And like 2 weeks ago, these cardinals, it wasn't cardinals, it was bishops maybe. I didn't really plan on talking about this, but I saw this and thought it would be cool to talk about for a second. These bishops basically came out and they kind of ruled that it was like not, the phrasing was like very specific. It was like, this is not a purely supernatural vision. Her imagination was somewhat engaged in the experience, but it's suitable for private devotion, but not public devotion. So they basically were like, you just can't have a cult about it. It happened in the 50s, and other bishops before this were like trying to get it going, and they had this statue and everything. It happened in Ohio. So whatever I think about that, I mean, weird American Christian mystical esoterica stuff. I mean, obviously I got the medal, duh. How could I not buy this? Obviously, it was $5 with the shipping included. That's awesome. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird and interesting. And the really interesting part is, so I got this medal. So I went on the website. I'm laying in my bed, so I go on this website. I'd heard a bunch of stuff about Our Lady of America. I decided to look into it. I go on this whether I go to the shop. This medal's $5. Comes with a bunch of cards like this. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy that, obviously. Whether or not I think it has any like supernatural validity, just to be clear. The thing is, actually, I should mention that just really quick. So I have looked into a lot of the Marian apparition stuff, and obviously I think a lot of it's like super cool. This one is like a little bit different than the other ones. Like in most of them, it's like some humble person who just happens to like see the Virgin Mary or something, and then maybe some like miracles happen, and that's kind of it. This one's kind of weird because this woman had like all these like sustained visions over time of like Joseph and Michael and Mary and all this stuff. So it's like very, very, very different than all the other ones. So I'm not even saying it's legit. I just think it's interesting, honestly. I'm not saying I don't think it's legit. Just saying it's interesting. So I ordered this medal. It's got Mary on the front. I posted this on Twitter. Maybe you saw it. But on the back, it's got the straight up Eye of Providence, which most people would call the Illuminati Eye, on the back over here. So I thought that was kind of cool. It also has a typo. It says Philo. I think it's supposed to say Feely up here, but whatever. It was $5. So yeah, just some random little piece of like spiritual ephemera I got going on here. So that's going to be a little intro. Was that good? Otherwise, I just want to jump right in, honestly, and get it going. And then, if you haven't watched the show before, basically my kind of plan is I've been structuring things a little bit more. So I kind of want to hit the things that I want to talk about, plan it out, get it going. And once the ball is rolling, then I'll, poke in the chat more, and we can kind of like talk about whatever you guys want, basically. But I wanted to jump right in. So last time we did a planned show. Last week was call-in show. But before that, we did Book of Numbers and kind of did the first half, second half. Oh, I got to put my gloves on. I was thinking that, maybe we'll just roll on through the Bible in order. But I really didn't want to lock myself in. Since it's doing art and making visuals, I kind of got to follow the fire. I got to follow the sparks where they are, and, Gotta take the inspiration where it comes. I can't really like force my way through it. It would be cool, but then it would just be like a totally different show. So what I did was I was sitting around thinking, and I was like, you know, what are we going to do? And I was thinking about cool parts of the Bible that don't really get as much play, don't really get plugged as much. I could do something like, you know, Noah's Ark, but not that that's not really awesome, but people have like seen a lot of images already of that. It kind of has this like feeling where there's this like laminated layer you have to puncture through just because all of us saw it like when we were kids and stuff like that. Well, I didn't, but if you were raised in like a relatively wholesome house, maybe you did. So I was thinking of visions. There's all these different apocalyptic, in the most general sense, like visions, and the different literature in the Bible, or even maybe a little bit outside the Bible, that has to do with people's visions and prophets and them seeing these kind of just, you know, I use this phrase all the time, but kind of just this tapestry of symbols that all mean different things, just presented as this like image for them to take and bring back to the people and interpret. Really just fits my art vibe so much, because what I really like is, instead of making like a window into a scene, is making sort of like an informational layout of symbols and things like that. So it really just perfectly fits together. So I thought we'd do that. So we are going to hit one of my favorite ones, which is in the book of Daniel. So we are going all the way to the end of the Old Testament. I was going to make a little fast forward button and press it so you can imagine. I thought it would look kind of like whack if I drew it out, but maybe I should have. So we're going all the way to the end of the Old Testament, book of Daniel, and I got this study Bible right here. So as you guys all probably know, I'm not officially a member of any one branch, shall we say, of Christianity at the moment. So someone got me this really nice Orthodox study Bible. Someone I know in real life, not anyone online. They got me this, and I thought it would be good for our purposes today. I have other study Bibles too, but why not use this one right now? And for all the information we're going to be looking at, it's, you know, not specific to any one denomination. So I hit up the book of Daniel, and I thought this was a pretty good description we could check out just before we hop right in. I want to get to the painting as swiftly as possible. So author, Daniel, whose name means God is my judge or God is judging, wrote the book that carries his name. Date 605 to 530 BC during the Babylonian captivity. To put it in like the biggest nutshell possible, in case anyone doesn't know, we did Book of Numbers. They got the rules. They're heading to the promised land. They didn't really respect God in the right way and go on all these crazy twists and turns. Eventually, Moses dies. Deuteronomy, get some more rules. They get to the promised land, but guess what? They just can't follow the rules. That's kind of what this whole thing is about. So it doesn't really go so well. Things kind of fall apart. Eventually the Babylonians come and kind of disperse or take the people, and then everything's kind of up in the air. That's when most of the prophets are in the back, and then we're left hanging on a big cliffhanger until Jesus comes. That's the whole Bible in my very amateur, non-scholastic opinion in like 10 seconds. From the book of Numbers to the book of Daniel. So anyway, when I thought of this, I was like, yeah, that would be cool. There's all these beasts in this vision that we're going to hit in 1 second. And this is when I really decided to do it, considering everything that's going on in life in general today, but also every day of our lives. Major theme: the sovereignty of God over all nations is set forth and illustrated by the truth that God directs history for the fulfillment of his purposes and plans. The blessings of God are granted to those who refrain from idol worship and turn to him. Finally, throughout the book, we see the vanity of idol worship shown by its effect on the lives of those who pursue it. So God stewarding the nations, history seeming kind of crazy but ultimately fulfilling God's purposes. Yeah, I was like, that's what we're going to do tonight. That's perfect, actually. And who wrote it? This guy Daniel, tribe of Judah. So we talked about tribe of Judah last time. Tribe that I'm pretty sure it's prophesied Jesus had to be descended from. He was taken to Babylon in the captivity as an infant, and he's contemporaries with Ezekiel and Jeremiah. Cool. So that's all the scholastic info we need. And I thought we would just cut to the chase. There's a few cool visions in here. One of them in the beginning is there's this vision of a big sculpture. I didn't really study up on this one, but I thought I'd just plug it really quick. There's a vision of like a big sculpture, and it's kind of cool. It probably wouldn't really suit one of my paintings because it's mostly just color variation, but maybe one day we'll hit it. And the head is like made of gold, and then the shoulders are, I'm not getting this exactly right, but I'm getting close enough. So the shoulders are made of silver, the torso is made of bronze, the legs are made of copper, and the feet are made of clay, and it goes down like degrading in these metals as it goes down the sculpture. And each layer is supposed to represent like a different kingdom or something like that. So the symbolism representing different kingdoms and people I thought was really cool. And the main one I wanted to hit is in Daniel number 7. So normally I wouldn't go in so hard reading, honestly, like live on the stream, but it's only like 4 verses in here to get to where we're going, so I thought we would just hit it really quick. And I'm also just going to pull up really quick. We are experimenting live on the stream. I'm going to pull up this commentary that I got going on right now. Like I said, it's just 4 verses. Why not try it out? Why not take the 5 minutes to poke into it? So really good app. I'm going to plug it right now. It's called Catena, Catena. You should definitely get it on your phone. 100%. Gotta get it. It's totally absurd that it exists and is free, actually. It's like the best app in the world, honestly. It has the whole Bible, and when you click on any verse, it has commentary from church fathers or like really, really major figures. So it's really awesome. I use it all the time. Even if you're just, maybe you're out somewhere and you like think of something and you're like, oh yeah, like what's up with that? You can just poke into it. Or if you're reading the Bible and you're like, oh, you know, yeah, what does this mean though, actually? You can just literally pull it up on your phone and poke in and read it, commentary from like St. Jerome or St. Augustine or all the big names. So it's really awesome. It's called Catena. That's what I'm going to use right now. So let's just read this right now. Daniel's vision of the 4 beasts. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, Daniel saw a dream and visions in his head upon his bed. Then he wrote down the dream. I, Daniel, looked on in my vision in the night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven blew violently upon the great sea. So I actually pulled this up right here. George Leo Haydock says winds to imply the tumults occasioned by fresh kingdoms. Thought that was really awesome. So he like sees this wind blowing the sea. This guy says the winds are symbolic of like a new kingdom rising up and how like tumultuous it is. And Hippolytus of Rome in 235 AD said, and behold the 4 winds, it's quoted, you can't see my hand, he means created existence in its 4-fold division. I thought that was kind of cool and worth plugging because often in my art I'll use something 4-fold to represent the earth or creation, like a square. I'm actually going to do that when we do this picture, or even a cube. You guys have probably seen like weird esoteric conspiracy stuff about the cube and it relating to like physical creation. So I thought that was cool, getting a plug for like 4-fold creation, the 4 cardinal directions, tying it all together. So we're probably going to actually use something like that in the image, so I thought I'd plug it. Anyway, behold, 4 winds of heaven blew violently upon the great sea. Then 4 large beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. So just poking that real quick too. 4 great beasts. So George Leo Haydock says it's the Chaldeans, Persian, Grecian, and Roman empires. So some choose to view them in that way. They're probably those 4 empires. It's like pretty much the consensus. And 4, reading someone else, Hippolytus of Rome again, and 4 great beasts. As various beasts then were shown to the blessed Daniel, and these different from each other, we should understand that the truth of the narrative deals not with certain beasts, but under the type and image of different beasts, exhibits the kingdoms that have risen in this world and the power over the race of man. For by the great sea, he means the whole world. So these 4 beasts are going to represent these 4 kingdoms. We're just going to read like 2 or 3 more verses, and then we'll get to painting. So this is the cool part. Then the 4 beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. We're going to do the first 2 in this painting right now. The first was like a lioness, and it had wings like an eagle. I looked on until its wings were plucked out, and it was driven from the earth and made to stand on human feet, and a human heart was given to it. I'm just going to read that again since we're going to paint this, and I think it's like a really cool, weird image. The first was like a lioness, and it had great wings like an eagle. I looked on, and its wings were plucked out. So it's a lion with eagle wings. The wings were plucked out. It was driven from the earth and made to stand on human feet, and a human heart was given to it. So a lion standing on human feet with its wings plucked out. It's got these eagle wings, and someone's giving it a human heart. That's awesome. I really like this kind of thing because I've done a lot of like artwork, obviously, in my life, symbols sometimes in my art. But I think there's just something about, it's almost like the scientific aspect of all this stuff for me. You could say done in like a scientific mindset. You know, when I read stuff like this, it like is kind of, it's, you could say it's like just these random symbols and stuff together, but it really doesn't have the same effect as if you sit down and just combine like random stuff. There's something about like certain combinations of symbols that just have this like potency. There's like something there that's more than the sum of their parts. So I just find that really interesting for some reason. And then we'll read the next one too. After this, behold, there was a second beast like a bear. It rose up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth, between its teeth. Thus they said to it, Arise, devour much flesh. Much flesh. So we're going to do those 2. We'll probably do the next 2 next week. They're like a leopard with a bunch of heads and probably a dragon, actually. So yeah, so that's the vision we're going to do right now. And actually, he gets the meaning of the vision later. We'll just read this really quick too. My spirit within me trembled with fear, and the visions. Oh, so actually, I'll just clarify. So he sees the four beasts. Then he gets this vision of the Ancient of Days on this throne, and then the Son of Man comes and gets enthroned after the beasts get like dethroned. Basically, it's probably, you know, the second coming of Christ or Jesus reigning over these like the world after these like weird evil nation symbols have been defeated. It's kind of like my amateur interpretation of it. So, meaning of the visions. My spirit within me trembled with fear, and the visions in my head troubled me. Then I approached one of those who stood by and sought the precise meaning of all this from him. Apparently this is supposed to be an angel. It just says some guy who was standing there, which I find kind of funny. So he told me the precise meaning and made known to me the interpretation of the words. These four large beasts are four kingdoms. They shall arise on the earth, then be taken away. After this, the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess it unto ages of ages. So there are four kingdoms. It doesn't say in here what kingdoms they are. People have their guesses, I suppose. But that's kind of cool for me also because it's like they could be those specific four kingdoms, or it could be more of like an archetypal thing going on, like representing like different aspects of like evil empires or something. So yeah, let's do it. Let's jump right in right now. So, oh, I knocked my light. Cool. So I didn't want to get lost in the oh wait, there's one more commentary I wanted to hit. I was just gonna say I don't want to get lost in the commentary, but there's one more thing that just perfectly ties together everything we're talking about. I got it right here. So this is Saint Jerome, AD 420. The four winds of heaven I suppose to have been angelic powers to whom the principalities have been committed in accordance with what we read in Deuteronomy. So it's kind of cool actually. Saint Jerome says that the four winds in the beginning of the Daniel vision are these like angelic powers that are kind of entrusted to these different like nations. It's kind of cool. It ties in with a concept I really like a lot. I don't really think it's actually explicitly in a lot of theology, but I know it as something called territorial angels, wherein there's angels that like steward different nations basically. Maybe steward isn't really the right word, but the way a person has a guardian angel, nations have like guardian angels kind of. That's like the theory of it. I don't really actually know how theologically sound that is or official that is, but it's an idea that's come up a lot that I think is like kind of cool, kind of naturally intersects with a lot of things I'm interested in. So St. Jerome's quoting this part, when the Most High of Deuteronomy, when the Most High divided the nations, and when he separated the children of Adam, he established the bounds of the peoples according to the number of angels. It's pretty cool, actually. Is that the end of it? Yeah. So he's kind of like just referencing these like territorial angels. Maybe that's what he's referencing. So yeah, I don't know. Thought that was kind of cool. Making sure that's the end of it. And yeah, all right, let's do this thing. I really like the idea of territorial angels, obviously, or national angels, or whatever you want to call it, like guardian angels for like groups of people. Like I said, I don't know how sound that is theologically, but I think it's really cool. In the Our Lady of America vision, that is a thing actually. There's this angel that like, it's kind of like the guardian angel of America. So maybe that's also part of why they were like, yeah, this is not going to be made an official thing for us right now. All right, so I want to start with this lion, obviously. In the text, yeah, by the way, so I say this every time. If you want me to see something in the chat, you got to hit me with the @OwenCyclops like Womp Womp just did. Otherwise, I'm definitely not going to see it. I might not see it in the beginning when I'm going hard on like, you know, painting and getting it started, but yeah, just throwing that out there. So I want to start with this lion right now. In the text, it says lioness, but actually when I looked at the commentary, it said that that was a mistake and that St. Jerome was using a certain translation that improperly translated it as lioness. So I'm going to use a male lion, and aside from like the textual, it's really funny misspeaking, the textual exegesis of it, I just think male lions look cooler because they have the mane. So we're going to go with the male lion interpretation right now. And I got to make it standing, so I'm going to kind of get a little bit of like a European rearing lion thing going on. And I want to make sure, so I'm just letting you guys know what I'm thinking like right before I dive in right now. I want to make sure that I leave room in the chest area, how his arm is going to be like in front of his chest and stuff, for a hole. Because I'm going to have a hand coming in and giving him a human heart, like you just heard me read in the text right there. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking right off the bat. Otherwise, I think it's going to be cool. Style-wise, I want to land not full-on medieval. I'm always referencing this medieval. By the way, right now I'm just getting the paint off my brush. I always reference these medieval images where the artist maybe never really saw the animal they were painting before. I don't want to fully take it there, but I do want to stylize it really heavily. So obviously I'm not going to do anything like realistic. I looked up a lot of medieval images of lions and bears today, and a lot of times they have no idea what those animals look like. Color wise, what are we gonna do? I want to get a nice like lion color when we're going right off the bat, so I'm thinking about yellow ochre or raw sienna. You can see these are almost the same color, but this is a little bit more saturated. Since what I am anticipating is that I'm gonna want to do the mane in almost like an orange color. It gives it like a really nice like graphic kind of medieval flavor if you do that. I'm gonna use the yellow ochre. It's a little bit less saturated, it's a little bit paler. I'm actually even going to mix some white in it because I don't want it to be the case that when I throw down that almost orange mane that it's too close to the lion's fur color, because then it'll all get lost. It'll all get lost. So let's see. I guess I can hit the chat. I'm still mastering hitting the chat and keeping the painting ball rolling, because like someone will ask me something and I'm like, oh wow, it's a whole lot to unpack, and then I'll have to jump back into the painting. So I'm still mastering jumping back and forth between those. But I do see some interesting questions and I will hit them. Alright, so here's the thing. The other thing is, this is a big moment for me. You may not have noticed. You may not think it's a big moment, but it really is, because I never, ever, ever work landscape, i.e. horizontal. I always work vertical. I think probably actually in my entire life, making pictures for over 10 years, more than that, I've probably only made like 3 to 5 landscape images in my entire life. I just don't like the format for some reason. It's not that I don't like it. I just always gravitate towards vertical. Vertical is like so much more natural for me. I don't know why. There's probably something like deeply psychological going on in my brain, but I never use landscape. But we're going to do it because vertical wouldn't be good for making 2 separate creatures, right? So it kind of naturally lends itself to the vertical format. It's a big moment for me. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone with you guys. I hope that's okay. And I'm going to mix it up with the palette knife real quick. I want to make sure we get a good like lion fur color. Lion's a really awesome symbol. It's kind of like the preeminent like royal symbol, right? It's like the preeminent like symbol of royalty. And I do have my Christian symbolism book here. I was going to dive in. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at it a little bit later for some other things. I was going to hop right in on it for the lion, but thing is, all the lion symbolism they have in there is positive, because you got like what, Lion of Judah, one of the Gospels, I think it's Mark, one of the Gospel writers is associated with a lion. You get those 4 animals on the front of the Gospels, like with also the ox and the human and the eagle, in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. So since we're using a lion to represent a kind of evil empire, I didn't want to jump in with that. It's also kind of cool because I enjoy like inverted symbolism, so it's kind of interesting that, you know, lion is associated with so many positive things, but here we're using it to represent a mostly evil empire, which kind of repents a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, let's see. I just want to get this going right now. So grab some water. Boom. Cool. Someone said I should probably shut down a conversation. At the risk of revealing too much, I don't know how to mod the chat yet, so I don't know what people are talking about. I'm not going to pause and look at it, but I guess if it's really crazy, you can tell me. Okay, so I want to go kind of medieval style right now. So I'm just going to give it kind of a short nose. And I don't want to make it too tall. If I make the head way too big, the body will be too short and it'll look really funny. So I have to like fight my temptation to make the head like way too big. It might even be too big right now, but we're kind of just going to roll with it. Give it a cool mouth. Boom. I don't want it to look like too upset, but I want it to look like not happy. What I'm going to do is paint in, nice, looks good on the camera. I'm going to paint in the head like this. Boom. And I just kind of want this head floating in the mane. I'm going to do it kind of medieval style where the mane like comes down and around. I used to go like fully graphic and put the mane as like a full circle around the lion head. It's actually a pretty awesome look. I could do that right now, but I don't know. I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. Perfect. Boom. All right, I'll poke in the chat. I'm really curious now, actually, that someone said that. I'm just wondering if you ever used a magic circle to ask an entity for favors. Nice. That's really... Not to derail completely. No, I've never done that, actually. I used to hang around stuff like that. You could say I used to hang around it, but I never actually did it. Actually, it's pretty interesting because at the time, so I guess I try not to talk about this every stream, but we can talk about it for a minute right now, then we'll put it away. Yeah, I used to be like Western occult boy, right? And the funny thing is that I always had this like barrier to actually doing a lot of things, and at the time, it was very confusing to me. You know, I'd get the stuff. I don't really want to go into it too much, but I picked up like tools, let's say, and the things you need to like do like ritual magic and stuff like that. And I had it, and I had the books, and I'd be reading about it all the time, but I never actually like pulled the trigger and did it. And at the time, I was kind of like, what am I, like lazy? Like, why am I like not doing this? Like, what's going on? And in retrospect, I really think it was because someone was telling me it was like evil and bad, actually. So luckily, no. Luckily, I never like directly tangled with spirits or things like that. Obviously, I highly recommend not doing that. For sure. I mean, what is this? Oh, in day one, I highly recommend not doing that. It's a very big understatement, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to throw down this mane right now and then come back and put in this lion face. He looks kind of like weak right now, but I want to put in some like dope teeth. And I don't know, should I go with the straight orange? Are we going to take it there right now? I kind of feel like we should. Why not? Why not just take it there right off the bat? I could like brown it up. I could like get some brown in there. Maybe I should. I can't really tell. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to compromise. I'm going to keep the saturation up. I'm going to use this Venetian red. So if you've never seen me use this before, this is like the Pompeii red. It's like really rich, like red clay. So it'll bring the color down a little bit, and it'll bring it into the red spectrum, but it's not going to like desaturate it. If I hit it with brown, then it would... I mean, if you don't know what that word means, I can't really break it down more than that. It would desaturate it a lot. It would lower the color intensity. So I'll keep the color intensity, but I'll lower the value. I'll make it darker, but just keep it just as intense. That's what I'm going to do right now. Interesting. Okay. I could get derailed in the chat for a minute, I guess, if we want to talk about ritual magic and stuff like that. Let's see. Let me throw this mane down. Well, now I'm thinking about it, so I guess we'll talk about it for a minute. Yeah, I don't know. For me, the ritual magic thing is, I mean, honestly, to be totally honest with you, I'll totally be honest with you. I really think that if you're actually in the chat telling me that you're thinking about getting into it, I think that the best thing is to really just think about why it's so fucking cringe. Honestly, there's like a reason that all that stuff is really, really, really lame. And I think that if you were actually thinking about getting into it, I think that you should look into it a lot and be like, am I really going to like put on these robes and go in my basement and, you know, talk to some freaking entity from like this book in the 1400s? Like, it's pretty cringe, man. I'm actually just telling you that because I care. I'm really only telling you that because I care. But I think there's a reason that it's so lame, and I think part of that lameness is your soul like recoiling from something that you're not really supposed to be doing. I mean, it doesn't even have the like badass cool factor that people think it does. Like, in case anyone doesn't know, if you start getting into stuff like that, you know, and you contact these groups, I mean, basically what you're headed towards is like being in someone's basement wearing like some robes, pretending you're some wizard from like the 1500s. Like, literally. I'm not exaggerating in any way whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, I would highly advise not doing that. I don't want to derail completely just to convince you not to do it. Although I could actually. That would probably actually be pretty interesting. But I don't want to derail completely, but it's pretty lame. And I can bully you about it if you want. Only because I care. Only because I really care. I will bully because I care. Okay, so I'm throwing down this mane right now. It's a really dope color. And it looks pretty dope. It looks a lot more red on the camera, actually, than it really is. I might turn down the saturation a little bit. I think we're good right now. So I'm going to throw down this mane. I made the lion way too big right now. But it'll be okay. What I'll actually do is instead of... Oh, fuck. We need to see his feet, though. because we're putting human feet on him. I was going to say we'll just cut it off at the waist, but we can't do that because we need to see his feet. It's cool. I'll make it work. It's not a big deal. We'll just have him have like a really, really large mane. This is the live painting experience, so sometimes things don't really play out as you think. It's all good. And yeah, like I was saying, lion's pretty much like the preeminent like royal symbol. I looked it up in a few of my books before, but I have this book called the Book of Symbols, and I went to poke in there, and it didn't have an entry for lion. It just had big cats. I was like, what are you talking about right now? Are you serious? No lion entry? So throw down this eye. I'm going to try and make it look kind of badass, honestly. I don't really want it looking like weird or wimpy or anything like that. So I'm going to take some indigo out and give this lion kind of like a badass face. I'll answer, we could talk about it. I'm not going to put a kibosh on it. Same guy asked me, or maybe it's a different guy. I actually haven't been keeping up with the names. How'd the occult guys you used to hang out with turn out? Yeah, dude. I mean, it doesn't really go well if you take that path, to be honest with you. It doesn't go well at all, man. Few of them I just lost contact with, so I can't say. So in case any of them are watching this, I'm not like directly shit-talking anyone, because a few of them I just kind of ended up stop talking to. The thing is, man, I mean, honestly, one of the worst parts about that path is that it's really, really hard to turn around once you go really far down it. So you know what I mean? Like, imagine, I'm going to switch brushes too. I'm going to get a smaller brush. I guess this kind of fits because, you know, the whole book of Daniel is kind of about, like, you know, following God in, like, the proper way and not, like, worshiping idols and stuff. It's really, really hard to turn back at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, we're all guys. I mean, even if a woman's here, it doesn't matter. You know, we're all people. If you put, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into something like that, and you've read the books, and it becomes part of your identity, and your room has, like, the candles in it, and you got the stuff, and you've, like, married your identity to this worldview. I'm going to give it a really long, thin eye, and I'm not even going to give it a pupil. I'm just going to give it this dark eye. I think that'll look, like, really cool. You know, if you really married yourself to that worldview after so long, it's really, really, really hard to turn back on it and be like, I made a mistake. Either I'm getting nothing out of this, which happens, or I'm realizing this is like nefarious in some capacity or not what I thought it was. It's pretty difficult, man. If it's been like 4 or 5 years, sometimes it's even longer than that, and, you know, you went so hard down that road, and most importantly, like, the phrase I like to use is you've, like, married your identity to it in some way. It's really, really, really difficult. There's not a lot of people who are able to really look in the mirror and be like, this was a mistake, and I have to basically go back and start at square one somewhere else. That's really, really, really rare. So it's really rare that people come out of it. And then on top of that, it's really bad partially because it aggrandizes your ego, and a lot of it is very ego based. That's not a philosophical argument against it, but, you know, I mean, how could it not be? I mean, think about it. Like, you spend like all this time like reading these books and getting in on this kind of secret that no one else is on. I mean, then that makes you like kind of better than them, right? Like, because you know this like secret thing that they don't know, and they couldn't even handle it. I mean, they couldn't handle it, right? Like, you're one of these special people that's like smart enough to handle it, and you know, and they don't. And I think it makes you a lot more distant from people. It makes it a lot harder for you to relate to people. You feel like no one gets it. It's very isolating. So it usually doesn't turn out well. Sometimes people go completely and totally fucking insane, and then they have no one to turn to. Sometimes they just bottom out. It's pretty bad, dude, to be completely honest with you. I really, really, really don't recommend it. I mean, just look at like famous occultists. Just literally go look up famous occultists and see how their lives ended and where they were at when their lives, you know, when the clock ran out. Most of them are in really shitty places with not a lot of money, or maybe they're addicted to drugs or something like that. You know, it's not really a good thing. Also, then just like honestly, the thing is, real people, if in real life, they usually become like way creepier and weirder. When you get in that scene, it's a lot of really weird, creepy people, dude. And like, it's not a philosophical argument again, but like, if you go to a church, you know, the people you meet there, I mean, you could go fishing with them. You could hang out with them. You could introduce them to your girlfriend. That's not a philosophical argument, but I'm saying like they're usually pretty wholesome, cool people. I'm going with the dark outline right now. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I think it's going to look good. But a lot of people you meet there, you know, it's fucking weird. I mean, I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's just fucking weird. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to fully derail. If we want to make the second half of the show about that, we can definitely talk about it. I mean, I guess I also like the natural thing though. If that's what we're talking about, that's what we're talking about. It does really fit actually because this lion that I'm painting, so he's gonna have these eagle wings. I'm gonna go a little faster. I always, when we start out, I'm always going like a little too slow, but I want to keep it like fast and exciting for you guys, and also for me. So this lion that I'm painting right now, he's going to have these eagle wings. So it's pretty much like the two most regal animals. Something I talk about a lot when we use animal symbolism is the terrestrial animals versus like the celestial animals, or animals having like dichotomies, like one that lives in the ocean and one that lives on land, one that lives on land and one that lives in the sky. So here we have pretty much the two most regal animals. In my opinion, there's not really like a most regal water animal. Like for the land, if you ask me like what's a kingly land animal, boom, lion, right on deck. If you ask me what's a kingly sky animal, eagle, obviously, right on deck, since Rome all the way up to right now. Can't really think of one for water right off the bat, so. But we have the two kingly animals here, lion and eagle. And he gets put on human feet, and we're going to talk about it in a second. Maybe we're going to talk about it right now. But, okay, so I want to make sure I put in, this is a big move right now. I'm actually sweating, because I want to make sure I do this right. So, normally, what I would do is have this curve right here be the front of his chest. But it's going to be so tight because I made the mane so big. I'm just wondering if it will be enough room, because I got to give him the human feet, and I want to make sure the human feet are not like crammed into this rectangle, because kind of the whole point is that he's on human feet, right? So what I'm going to do instead actually is I'm going to make his chest come out a little bit more. I might not get to put in that hole that I wanted to put in that the human heart is going to go into. We'll still have the human heart. Maybe there won't be like a full hole there. Maybe I'll just put like a cut or something. That would be kind of cool actually. So I'm going to have the chest come out over here. We're going like Euro style. The European lions often have like a crazy exaggerated like rib cage. And that's good. That's good for now. And I want to give him an arm too. So what I'm going to do, I have to make sure we can fit the wings in over here. So I'm going to have to make the arm like this. The arm's going to come out. Boom. And it's going to be like that. That's how the arm's going to be. And we'll have like some of those lion hairs coming off the back. It's okay. The European lions, they always look awkward, but if they're really traditional looking, they also look like badass. It's like a weird combination of like awkward and badass. I don't know if I'm going to catch that flavor fully right now, but we'll see. So I'm going to throw this arm down right now. Could have him holding something. If we don't want to adhere like strictly to the text of the vision, I could have him holding something. That'd be kind of cool. But also, since there's so much cool stuff in the vision, we might just like stick with it that way. I'm going to paint in the chest over here. And I kind of, actually, I could double back over the mane and take it back a little bit. I'm going to do that, actually, because I want to have that hole or a line, at least, with some blood coming out where we're going to put that human heart in. Because, I mean, that's really cool. Hey, I wonder if, in The Wizard of Oz, doesn't the lion want, like, a human heart or something? Isn't that kind of a weird parallel? Jamie, pull up the plot to The Wizard of Oz. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need to pull it up right now. Okay. I'm going to put that in. I might cut back on the mane a little bit. Cool. And there's another place in the Bible, I think it's in the book of Hosea. Is that how you say it? H-O-S-E-A. Where these four animals are used also. God talks about making the nation of Israel like a lion, like a bear, like a leopard, or like a dragon or something. And it's the same animals. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in. And maybe we'll throw down the eagle wings. Actually, I have to wait because I want to... My hand is here, so I don't want to get the wet paint there. So we'll just work top down. And then I'm going to put a cloud over here, and that's going to be where the human hand is coming out, giving him the human heart. And I looked up a lot of images of hearts today from medieval art also, anticipating this. And it's kind of funny. Most of them were in like the kind of Hallmark card heart shape, which I didn't really expect. Alright, cool. And let's see. I'll just throw down the legs too. So this is kind of the clincher, I guess you could say. It's also okay. It looks kind of feminine, but the book does say a lioness, even though it has a mane, so whatever. We're just going to roll with it. I can always come back and like badass it up a little bit. really do not have enough room. So what I think I'm gonna do is, see, I could just fit the legs in, but I don't want it to. I'm really torn because it's like almost enough room. But what my instinct is telling me I should do is something like this. Let's get some paper going right now. Boom, sketchbook. Boom, blank page right now. What I'm thinking I should do is something like this. So we got the lion, right? Got the lion going on. Got the ear part. Got the mane coming on. And what I'm thinking I should do... Oh, such a good drawing. So this hand's going to be coming in like this. We'll have the other hand like up. Like this, kind of like a rearing lion. Got it coming down. And what I'm thinking is, it says... What exactly does the text say? Here, I'm going to pull it up really quick. It says... It was driven from the earth and made to stand on human feet. It says stand. I was going to make him sitting. I thought that was going to be like the clincher. I was going to do it. But, let's just do it. We can fit it. It'll look okay. Let's just go for it. Whatever. We can do whatever we want. I was going to do this. I actually still might. I'm thinking about, it would look kind of dope if I had the lion like this with his feet coming down, because then the human feet, we could really like paint, like get it like human color, and it would look kind of weird. We're gonna do this. This looks sick. Actually, we're obviously gonna do this, and we'll have the feet being like kind of like human color over here, and then it'll fade into like lion color. That's gonna be tight. And actually, maybe I'll even put like a little glow around them. Like we'll put a little yellow glow, because it's kind of like the whole point of it. That looks dope. We're gonna do this right now, actually. Yeah, someone said whale is like the kingly ocean animal. That's true. I guess when I was thinking like go-to, I feel like it's a little different for the whale, because lion and eagle have such a precedent as use in like regal heraldry. You know, you go all the way back to Rome and people were like using the eagle. Lion is perennial from probably the first like civilizations and stuff. But I can't really think of a water animal where in the same way it like was used so often and almost like as the default like regal symbol of empire. So that was the only difference, I mean. Obviously, yeah, whales are badass. Alright, this is good. This is a good compromise right here. Never painted a lion sitting like this, so we'll see how it turns out. The thing about the painting like this, where I'm painting kind of like sketch style, is like, if anything doesn't look good, I can always go back and change it or fix it, so... It's very like Bob Ross, where like, you know, if anything doesn't look good, I don't like need to stress about it. We can just come back, change it up later, happy little accidents. And actually, yeah, things do kind of happen accidentally, because like I said, I never painted a lion sitting like this, and I think it's going to look really sick. So that's what we're going to do right now. Could be kneeling. That's a really tight idea, actually, but we already pulled the trigger on this. I thought about sitting. I guess kneeling is a little different than sitting, but then I was kind of worried it would look too like Egyptian god. You know, like the sitting deity thing is so almost like trademark ancient Egypt that, yeah, I don't know, I didn't really want to take it there, honestly. Cool. And I'll put in the arm too. And then I'm going to put some stripes in on the mane. I'm going to make it so like you can see the hairs on the mane. I think that'll be really tight. We'll put in a tail, start throwing in some details. We'll get this party moving. I feel like the show is always like a J curve, where the first like 40 minutes to a half hour, it's like it's like just getting it going, and then at a certain point it's like we're going like 60 miles an hour, and like the coolness is just unstoppable. That's how I feel about my own painting. The coolness just becomes unstoppable. I'm a very humble person, obviously. Okay, so we'll poke into the symbolism of feet and stuff in a second. How'd the chat resolve? Did that guy decide not to forsake God and sell his soul to ritual magic? How'd that go? Let's get a little storyline going on the painting show over here. Isn't that what they do in their live stream? A little storyline going? Alright, so I'm going to... I actually have a really weird book. I could break this book out. I have this book over here that is... It's really bad. The thing is, I don't want to take it out because then I'm just going to be like aggressively shit talking the guy who wrote the book, and I kind of have a policy of like not talking shit, but it's a really bad book. It's directly relevant to this. It's kind of, you'd say it's about the relationship between like Christianity and ritual magic and stuff. Okay, cool. So I'm going to throw down some stripes on the... Yeah, there's a lot of feet jokes coming up, especially as we paint these like luminous human feet on deck. So one thing we haven't really messed with too much while we've been working just in general on the show, just in general, is texture, because I'm going like so fast. We've used texture a little bit in terms of like watercolor and like showing the paper through the paint, but not too much of me like directly manipulating texture via mark making while I'm so back in art school right now. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to put these like hair marks. Actually, I'm going to use a smaller brush. I'm going to put these like hair marks into the mane. This is something I kind of like doing. I usually do it with girls' hair, but it'll work on the lion. Also, I often use it for lions too. I think this is like the perfect size that I'm looking for right now. I may have never used this brush because it still has the sticker on the back. Cool. Let's do this. I also like the idea of this lion's wings getting like plucked out. I thought that was kind of cool. So we'll put like some distance between the, yeah, this is perfect. Between the eagle wings and that kind of thing. Boom, boom, boom. Actually, this made it look more masculine. It's awesome. Might be too transparent though. We'll see how it dries. Yeah, you can't even see it. I gotta mix it with some white. Let's see, where is the white? Cool. Just found a 19th century heraldic symbol of a catfish, someone said. Yeah, some of the heraldic stuff is really, really tight. I had this project I was working on for this guy. Actually, he never got back to me. I have to hit him up. I was doing a crest for him, and I was digging around, and I found this crest that was a... it was like a mermaid, but the top of the mermaid was an owl. I thought that was so awesome. So I used it in this crest I was making for him. So you can find a lot of cool stuff when you dig into like the older heraldry. Especially at a certain point, because once all the cool stuff is taken, people are like, yeah, fuck it, let's just use whatever. Like an owl mermaid. Obviously someone just made that up. Boom. Boom. Yeah, it's going to be the look for sure. I'll have some of these hairs like winding up. Yeah, and around. Cool. And I got a bunch of cool projects I'm dropping right now just to casually talk with you guys. It's kind of cool because I've said this so many times, like a broken record, but like the last few months I've just been like so backed up that what it feels like is like instead of taking one thing on a week and having it take a week, I took on like 15 things, so it took like 15 weeks, which is kind of a really stupid way of doing things. But now it's all like dropping at once, so it makes me look really cool. So I finished up the collab with Jonathan that I posted today. That was pretty cool. And someone wrote a book. I didn't plan on talking about this, so I feel like a dick because I forgot his name. I think it's Ryan Landry. They posted about it on the Terror House Twitter. He wrote a book, and it actually has an intro by Bronze Age Pervert, and I did the cover for it. It looks really tight. So that's dropping in like a week. It's pretty cool. I don't see my name tagged in the chat, so I'm just going to keep talking. Okay, so I'm just going to throw in boom, boom. Okay, that looks tight. And it kind of just breaks up the mass. You want to just like break up the space, keep it like visually interesting. I always think of a person's eye like just wandering over the picture and wanting to keep it like visually fresh, basically. Okay, so I'm going to put in this cloud offering the human heart right now. I think that's going to be a really good call. The thing is, I would obviously make it on fire because in my pictures I like to set everything possible on fire. But it's supposed to be explicitly a human heart. And I don't want to be confusing, making it like, is it the sacred heart? Is it, what is it? So we're going to make it just a straight up human heart right now. And I think we're also going to have room for that hole. I'll put a big hole in his chest, like right there. It's going to be perfect. So first what I'm going to do is throw down the cloud. Got my cerulean blue. If you've been watching the show, you know that squeeze it, nothing comes out. Winsor & Newton defect cerulean blue. Although they did get back to me and via their support, so I'm seeing a lot of demand for Owen Cyclops cards in the Twitter comments. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. That's awesome that people think that would be cool. a long time ago, I thought I would make like a tarot card deck. I obviously kind of put that on the back burner because while I like technically could like quote unquote like get away with it, it's a little too like promoting occult stuff. So then I was thinking about making a playing card deck, and then I would just like hyper mystical like illustrate like a straight up playing card deck, which is kind of cool because then you can actually play cards with your friends and stuff. And in case anyone doesn't know, the card suits. This is a really awesome fact, by the way. If you play cards with people, you're going to sound really cool if you know this. The card suits, I don't know if they're rooted in tarot cards. So in case anyone doesn't know, tarot cards used to be just straight up playing cards, like normal, just straight up playing a game, playing cards. And then they eventually acquired, I mean, this is like the traditional scholastic interpretation. And then they eventually acquired their, mystical and their mystical dimension, let's say. We'll be neutral and say their mystical dimension. Man, look how good this cerulean looks with the yellow ochre next to it. I'm dropping colors over here you guys can't even see. Look how good that looks. Oh, these two colors together, such a good pairing. So yeah, the tarot used to be this game called Tarocchi. I think it's Tarocchi in Italian. So the suits of modern playing cards, I don't know if they come from it or if it's just a coincidence, but they do have actual symbolism behind it that relates to things like the original playing cards of the tarot. For example, the spade in playing cards, a spade, like if you ever thought about it, like why is it a spade? Like who would do that? I'm pretty sure it's because it's a mistranslation of the word spado, which I think is how you say sword in Spanish, because they used to be swords and then they became spades. So the spade suit in a deck of playing cards is actually swords. I'm fairly certain it's the same thing for clubs. If you look at a deck of tarot cards, the wands, if you didn't know what it was, you would think it was a club, like a war club or some club from like prehistoric times. So you have the swords, you have the clubs, which is the wands, the diamonds. Seems pretty obvious. That might have been like pentacles, right? Like coins, like a coin, money, diamonds, right? It's not that far off. I don't actually know if that's a real connection anyone's made, but it seems not that far off. And then you have the hearts, which would be cups, which doesn't have any overt tie-in, but the cups kind of represent like romantic life and like inner life, so it kind of goes together. That's probably just from when they were straight up playing cards, so it's not like I'm pumping like weird black magic stuff. They used to be, like I said, straight up playing cards. So I mixed this cerulean blue over here, but I'm kind of getting let down. I was actually expecting to really like that. Cerulean blue is one of my favorite blues, but I kind of got let down. You can see all the way on the left side of your screen, it's just kind of like a dead blue. I'm actually a little disappointed in that. So I'm going to drop some Prussian blue in here. Let's see if Prussian blue becomes my new favorite blue. Friendship ended with cerulean blue. Now Prussian blue is my new best friend. I never usually use this. It has kind of like a chemical color, but let's go with it. Let's see. Maybe we'll make it a dark cloud. We'll make it like a nice dark cloud. Normally for visions, we always use these bright, luminous, heavenly clouds, but we'll go kind of dark right now. Why not? It's kind of a dark subject matter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint in this cloud just straight up coming off the left-hand side of the screen. And then I'm going to have an arm coming out of it. I could have painted in the arm first, but I didn't. And the arm's going to be offering via this hand right here. Yeah, it'll be okay. The heart, not offering. It's going to be kind of putting it in, but we have to have some like graphic representation of it. I'll fill in this cloud. Cool. Let's see what else is going down in the chat. How do you feel about the hallmark heart design? Like the heart, like what people think of when they think of a heart in modern Western culture? It's actually older than people think. It goes back pretty far. I've heard a few explanations for where it comes from. There's a few funny ones, like some people say it's supposed to be like two boobs, or like it's supposed to be like the shape of like someone's butt or something. Like some academic people actually say that. I don't really think that's legit, just because of my own biases. My favorite explanation for where it comes from is that I think it was like in Roman times or way back in the day, there was some like contraceptive plant. There was some plant that had like a contraceptive property to it, and that it worked so well that people kind of like plucked it to extinction, but its seed pod had that shape on it, and that shape became associated with like love and sex. Whether or not that's true, I suspect that something like that is probably its origin. It's probably something like that. It's probably something from the natural world combined with the fact that if you're painting a human heart in a picture like I'm literally about to do right now, if you've seen a heart before, most artists in medieval times probably had never seen a heart, right? But if you have seen them or you have seen organs, it honestly just doesn't really look that good to just paint like a big red bloody oblate spheroid. So I bet that they probably just kind of started putting that divot in just because it looks nice and gives it kind of like a crown effect, and then it probably just caught on after that. That's what I would suspect, actually. What do I think about it though? I mean, I think it looks cool. 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 So I'm going to put this hand in. The hand's going to be kind of small, but it's okay. I feel like it kind of implies maybe it's like an angel's hand or something like that. I'm going to have this hand reaching out and offering up this heart. Not offering up. I keep saying that because that's what it's going to look like. But. And I'm going to go with indigo. Indigo is going to function as the black in this picture. I'm not going to actually use it. Oh, it's right here. I'm not going to actually use any black. We'll just straight roll with the indigo. Nice. We have a little community now. People are talking in the chat. We have a little crew of people that watch the show. It's so great. Okay, so I'm gonna. The paint's still wet, so I shouldn't really do this, but I'm going to anyway. I'm just gonna put in the bump right there, and I'm gonna put in the arms. Boom. I'm playing against the odds because the paint is still wet, but it's okay. Boom. Perfect. So I wanted to get, it's funny, someone brought up heraldry before. I wanted to get kind of like a medieval heraldry feel with this hand like extending out of the cloud. I thought that would be a pretty good look, actually. There actually is a lot of heraldry like that. Oddly, everything we're talking about comes together. Also on the Ace of Wands tarot card, there is a hand reaching out of a cloud. So what we're going to do right now... So now I have to decide. I got a decision. I'm going to break out the paper once more. So I got a decision right now for what I can do, because I can either have it one of two ways. I can have it so the hand, I'm going to draw it poorly just for the sake of drawing it quickly. Wow, I literally made it a claw. Good job, dude. I can have the hand like pinchy mode and like holding the object, which would be cool. I mean, I can make it look good. I can put like the fingers out and like have it like that. Or what I think I'm going to do is go a little bit more graphic, and I can have the hand out like this. Lately I've been going full medieval and just putting in the lines for the hand, and then I'll have the object above it. And that's actually what I'm going to do, because that gives me a lot more room to put some like light around it, make it like a nice like floaty. Floaty is kind of cool. Luminous thing. So that's what I'm going to do actually right now. I recently used that hand style with the lines where it's like one block of hand. I'm finishing up this Arma Christi image, so it's an image of all the tools of the Passion. Maybe you heard about that, like when Jesus got crucified. It's all the different tools and stuff that were involved in that. And I'm just finishing it up, and it looks awesome. It looks really, really, really good. And what I'm going to start doing when I post images is I'm going to post like a key with them to explain like what all the symbols are. So this is the first one I'm doing that with. So I have the image, and then I have another version of it where everything is like labeled and explained. It looks pretty awesome, actually. Hyping up my own work. You guys can't see it, but it looks dope. Got a little bit of a tangent here because the hand is just straight up touching the lion's breast. It would have been better to have it overlap or have a little distance there, but it's not a big deal. You can roll with it. And same deal with the heart. The heart will actually be fine because I'll have it like overlapping the line over here. But like I said, it'd be better if it was like a little bit more planned out, but I like to do it live. So there are two more suits that people have used, the bullet and the cross. That's crazy. I have never heard of that, but you like 200% have my interest. I didn't know that, actually. Like on playing cards, they've used a bullet and a cross. That's sick. What happened to that? Where'd that go? I guess it's not good to gamble with cards that have a cross on it, but that sounds really cool. We're like an hour in, so I can start talking about some other stuff, take some questions. I have like symbolism stuff I do want to talk about here, but it's going to be like built in, so we can start talking about some other stuff. For the heart, I'm just going to use straight up red. And I think the camera, I changed a few settings around. I think it's actually making the colors a little bit more intense, which is kind of cool. I mean, this is what it looks like right in front of me. It's not like a lie. But the main is like a little bit more saturated, which is kind of cool. I'm just going to use straight up cadmium red. We're just going to use straight up red on the heart right now. I might shade it in with some alizarin crimson. It's like a little bit of a darker red color. For now, we're going to go with this. And I think maybe I'll put some of the vermilion. That's like the brightest red I have around it. Someone asked me, it's like every other show I get asked this. Not that it doesn't bother me. It's part of my Twitter brand, I guess. How is your search for a home in the church going? It's going really well, man. Honestly, it's something that I go back and forth on. Sometimes I have it really in the front of my mind. Sometimes I put it on the back burner a little bit. I kind of got off the hook with like coronavirus because I couldn't actually physically go anywhere. So I'm going to make it kind of the heart design, but not really. Actually, I didn't want to make it too like graphic Hallmark heart. But I did see hearts like this in medieval painting, so it's not like I'm fully like wussing out here. That's good. That'll be good for our heart. I am gonna put like a cut in his chest with like blood pouring out, so we will get the badass factor we're looking for. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting for me, I guess. I kind of just honestly, I think I say this every time, but I really just see like where everyone's coming from so much that I kind of just feel like I'm not really called to like participate in like the schism of the church. You know, I'll end up somewhere, of course, but I don't think I'm ever gonna get to the point where I don't really see like other Christian people from other denominations as like people I have like a problem with, honestly. Not that that's what you're asking me, but yeah, I mean, for me, like the Christian infighting is just like so painful. Like I actually love theological debates. Like if I'm cleaning my studio, I'll literally just put on like two guys arguing about the Bible. Like I love that. But any kind of like vitriolic like hatred of other denominations, I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. In my mind, it's like, you know, I've probably used this metaphor before, but it's like we have this big house and like the house is on fire and the water pipes are bursting and it's rotting and like full of centipedes and like everyone in the house is like passed out on heroin. And then we have these two guys arguing about like, you know, should we put the dishes in the drying rack or in like the second cabinet? And I'm like, yo, we can have that argument, but like later, because there's like a lot of other problems that we have going on right now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like figuring it out slowly. I am doing the rosary every day. I really, honestly, I hate saying that because it sounds like I'm bragging about something spiritual that I'm doing. But I'm only saying it in case it motivates other people to do whatever prayers or whatever things you think you should be doing. So I have been doing that every day, and it's really awesome, actually. I do it in the morning before I start work, and then if I can't sleep, I'll do it before I like fall asleep. It's pretty cool. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying in case it motivates you to do some type of prayer work that you should be doing. I am doing it, and I'm pressuring you to do it also. Okay. I'm going to outline that and stuff. I'm going to put this hole in. I kind of want to go like full graphic, almost like cartoon hole. I don't know if I should, though. I'm going to put a slit in like his eye. That's what we're going to do. Put a slit in here. What do you think of the mathematical shape called a cardioid? Isidore, I actually knew that it was going to be you asking that question before I saw your username. So congratulations, you officially have a brand in my mind now. I don't know what it is. I have to look it up. I used to go hard on the intersection of math and visuals, but I haven't hung out in that world in a little while. The most space I've hung out there is like fractal land and different kind of fractals and things like that. Gonna be a tough day when you tell us all what you choose, laughing my ass off. Yeah, you're so right. Literally, when that happens, it'll just be like the biggest probably day of fighting on Twitter like ever in terms of. I mean, I'm not like hyping myself up, but it's just like, it's gonna be really funny. I'm laughing, but also kind of dreading it. Now we'll see how it goes. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I just kind of been looking at everything, honestly, man. And the more I look into stuff, the more I kind of see where everyone's coming from, which is really annoying. I only have a few things that I've looked into and been like, yeah, I kind of do intuitively feel strongly about that. But for a lot of like theological minutia, I have my opinions, but yeah, that's basically it. So I'm gonna have some blood like pouring out of this cut in this lion's chest. Really good time for me to talk about like my feelings and like predestination and stuff like that, right? Boom. Yeah. And let's get it going. It's kind of annoying that his, frankly, like sexual genital area is like right below, because I would have like a huge drop of blood pouring out, but I don't want that like double connotation, so we're not gonna do that. I'm kind of torn. I guess I'll wrap up the whole church denomination thing. I really try not to talk about that every time also, but it comes up. I'm kind of a little torn because I am obviously kind of like obsessive informationally, like anyone else that probably is here, so I get the legitimacy of the apostolic stuff and I like it, and I actually, that's kind of how I feel, where I see Christianity more as like this tradition that's been like kept and like kind of like passed down over time than like the traditional Protestant characterization of it. Not that I think they're wrong, I'm just saying like that's kind of how I like view it more. But the thing is that then because of that, I feel like before I officially like join a church, I kind of have to make sure I'm on board with like every little theological detail, which is like obviously impossible. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I go back and forth between like, okay, like here's this one issue, like predestination, or some issue about salvation, or something about natural theology, or all this stuff, and I like dig into it for a while, and I'm like, oh, let me see like who I agree with. But then eventually I always get to this point where I'm like, I'm kind of just like self-aggrandizing myself right now. I'm kind of just being like, oh, I'm gonna be like Galaxy Brain, and I'm gonna be the one to decide like who's right, Thomas Aquinas or this Orthodox theologian. Like it's all up to me. And then I just kind of am like, all right, I'll put this on the back burner for a little while. All that's been facilitated by the fact that I have no time to read because I'm working so much. So we'll see how it all goes. Can relate to that deeply. I'm a Protestant personally, but I love my Orthodox and Catholic brothers and sisters. Based, epic, red pilled, nice. I am down with that. Yeah, I mean, conversely, the thing is though, my brain is like, I'm down. Like theology is like my thing that I like am down with. That doesn't mean I'm an expert. That's actually the opposite of what I'm saying. But like, when I chill, like I'll put on like a theology debate, like literally. I'm so down. I love it. I could listen to people debate about theology all day, every day for the rest of my life, straight up. Especially if I could paint while I'm doing it. Game over. All right, that looks sick with the red faded up there. Cool. Okay, so we've gotten to a good point here. Let's look at... Let's put in the feet, and then we'll wrap up the lion, and then we'll go over to the bear. I'll probably do the bear a lot faster because I don't want this to be like a crazy long video, but actually I am enjoying hanging out with you guys. I hope you guys, how's it going? Little intermission. How's it going, guys? I hope it's going well. We're chilling. I think most people had kind of a stressful day. That's what it felt like anyway, so I'm glad to be chilling with you guys. I would put on some music, but I need like royalty-free music. I don't want to get my stuff taken down off YouTube. Okay, I have to find the purple book that I have. Oh, man, it's on the other side of the room. Hold on 1 second. So, I was looking up symbolism. I probably sound really far away from the mic, but now I'm back. So I was looking up symbolism on feet and stuff like that. Man, it's so unfortunate that we have all the Twitter jokes about feet and feet pics, because we're going to be talking about feet for like just a few minutes right now. But it actually was looking into, so once again, I always plug this book, such a good book, Signs and Symbols in Christian Art by George Ferguson. And I was like, a lion with human feet. That is weird and interesting. What is the deal with that? So I poked in this book, and I've said this, every time I break the book out, but it's really more of a dictionary of symbolism in Renaissance art rather than symbolism in Christianity. But this one nailed it for the feet. And actually, before we do feet, let's just look at heart real quick. We just painted a heart. Let's see what it says in here. The heart was considered to be the source of understanding, love, courage, devotion, sorrow, and joy. Its deep religious meaning is expressed in 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Something to keep in mind right there for sure. The human heart, when carried by a saint, is symbolic. So someone's carrying a human heart. It's kind of interesting. That's kind of what we have going on here, but it's not a saint. The human heart, when carried by a saint, is symbolic of love and piety. The flaming heart suggests the utmost religious fervor. The heart pierced by an arrow, not what we have, but still interesting, symbolizes contrition, deep repentance, and devotion under conditions of extreme trial. The flaming heart and occasionally the pierced heart are used as attributes of St. Augustine.
patron of the studio. No, I mean, that would be dope. He probably has more important things to do, though. Symbolizing God's guidance of his zeal. The heart with a cross is an attribute of St. Catherine of Siena. I went to Siena, actually. They have a really beautiful cathedral there. With reference to the legend that, in response to her prayers, the Savior one day appeared to her and replaced her heart with his own. The heart is also used as an attribute of St. Bernardino of Siena. So in Siena, they like the hearts. I almost said that with an Italian accent, and I'm really glad that I did not. So, kind of fits what's going on here because we're going to hit the feet symbolism. What they basically say about this vision is that the lion represents Babylon or Chaldea or some kind of like evil empire, right? And, well, actually they specifically say it's those two usually. And that basically it has this, these, you know, bad, speaking in the most general possible sense, these bad elements to it. It has the wings, you know, it's trying to like fly up, let's say. And the wings are plucked from it. It gets these human feet. It's forced to stand in the dust of the earth. It becomes humble, basically. And via that humility, it becomes kind of like right with God. And it's given this human heart. It's kind of like my interpretation plus what I gathered briefly by reading. I always want to give the caveat, I'm not a theologian, so don't like walk away from the stream being like, Owen said 100% this is what this means. That's what I took away from it. That the lion, as opposed to the other beasts, is actually made right, at least in some capacity, with the natural order and with God and stuff like that. Where's feet? Foot. So now we're going to paint these feet in kind of the other half of it. The human foot, because it touches the dust of the earth, is used to symbolize humility and willing servitude. The woman, so I thought this was cool. It kind of goes into like other symbolism of feet in the Bible, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think about that when I first read about the vision, but it kind of all goes together. The woman in the house of the Pharisee who washed Christ's feet with her tears did so as a token of her humility and penitence. I don't know why I felt like I was going to say that word wrong. And her sins were forgiven. Christ himself washed the feet of his disciples at the Last Supper, John 13:5. It is on the basis of this act that it has become the tradition of bishops to perform the ceremony of washing the feet on Maundy Thursday. I've never heard of that, but I am ignorant of many things. So yeah, because the lion gets these human feet, it has to like walk in like the dust of the earth. It basically signifies its humility. It gets the human heart. So it's kind of cool actually. What we're painting over here is this like redeemed evil empire. At least that's kind of my take on it. That it's this empire that you know, has its wings plucked and is humbled before God. I guess that's kind of all we could really hope for our own situation. Am I right? Am I right? So let's paint in these feet right now. I'm going to use kind of a human skin color because I kind of want to drive up the like creepiness of the human feet on the lion right now. Cool. Okay, so this color, Naples Yellow Light, this is like the color for European white people's skin color. Just, you know, I like to say something about the colors each time I use them. So if you watch this a lot, you can start to talk about pigments and things like that, and sound like you know what you're talking about. Maybe you even will. So if I was painting a human with this Naples Yellow Light right now, I'm not going to say a white human every time. We're not that politically correct here, obviously, but just want to say that I'm aware of that. But if I was painting a person with this skin color, with the Naples Yellow, I would use, for different parts of their body, depending on how close it was to the blood, I would actually use varying levels of this color that's functioning for me as vermilion. It's called cadmium scarlet, but I would call this pigment vermilion, really. It's not, but I would call it that if I was just speaking colloquially. Because this is the warmest color I have, so if you ran the colors on a spectrum, this is the warmest one. And on parts of people's body where the blood is really close to the skin, like the cheeks, that's really obvious, but even like the nape of the neck, or even if you look at your body right now, there's parts of it where the blood is closer to the surface than other parts. So I would use that, and then for cooler parts, like where there was shadow, I use a little cobalt blue. It's like a really, really warm blue. Since it's just feet, though, I am just going to throw in the Naples Yellow with the white. And I'm just going to get this kind of like creepy, actually, just like totally pale human foot color. It's kind of what I'm going for right now. Oh, Maundy Thursday is Holy Thursday. Oh, I didn't know that, actually. Nice. Do you want to put water coming out of the wound, too? That's dope. Maybe. I try and dial it back on, like... I mean, that would be kind of dope, actually, pictorially. I try and dial it back on using, like, the hardcore, like, Jesus crucifixion symbolism wildly. Just, like, dropping it everywhere. But maybe, though. I don't know if that's what you were thinking of, but that's what that makes me think of. And this color, so I mentioned it before, but this Oh, you can't even see. My bad. Poke up. So I have to anticipate that the colors are going to dry darker than they are. It's another really hard part of using this paint, but that's how it is. This is going to dry a little bit darker. I kind of want to put more white in because I don't want it to dry too dark, but let's see. I'll put a little bit more white in. Do I have any insight on the pedophile network's use of the triangle-shaped swirl to communicate? It's been FBI verified to be real. Honestly, no, nothing beyond that, honestly. I am fully on board with, like, in general, like, secret societies using symbolism to communicate and stuff like that. But specific stuff that, the thing is, like, well, where I'm at with all that stuff is the researchers, or I don't really even want to use the word researchers. I think past a certain point, it's pretty difficult to get direct information. You know, like if you go back really far, like I'm talking like, you know, way before, like, pick an arbitrary date, way before like the 90s and stuff like that, it's like a lot easier to poke into a secret society and see what kind of like symbolism they're using and stuff like that. But for modern stuff, I think it's pretty difficult because you're dealing with like I have to make it more bent. I have to make the feet more bent than that, actually. I didn't anticipate that. Because you're dealing with a pretty high level of like, you yourself are behind this like informational fog where like what you're basically going to be like going online, right? So I mean, they know you're going to be doing that. They in the most general sense. I'm really not talking about any like group in particular, but any group that would be using like crypto symbolism would know that, you know, people are going to be going online. So I think past a certain point it's kind of hard. So I don't really make a lot of like hard statements about groups or like what's going on right now. So yeah, no, I couldn't really say, man. Couldn't really say. But I do think that the symbolism stuff is real. I mean, that should be obvious for anyone that like knows me in any capacity. But I do think that different groups using different symbolism is like obviously real. Someone posted today about the black squares, and they were like, so everyone's posting black cubes on Instagram, and I was like, oh my god, stop. You're going to make me kick on like full schizo mode. Full schizo mode right there. Yo, Black Halo for Evil Empire. Yeah, actually, it's really funny you say that because we are going to do that. I'm going to use a dark halo. Sometimes I use a dark halo for creatures or entities where I want to give them like some orb around their head, but I don't want it to be confused with like a positive thing. I'm going to see if I can just blend this a little bit. Not too much. It's going to kind of look like he's wearing socks, but it's okay. Sometimes like medieval images especially, the way certain things are read gives it like a kind of like weird ambiguity. This looks awesome. I'm going to outline the feet so they look more like feet also. But also I'm going to lean into like the weird creepiness. I'm going to lean into it because I like it. Okay, so I'm going to put some toes in also. Thank you for not flooding the chat with jokes about feet pics. It's really, really appreciated. Perfect. That's going to be good enough right there. It already looks kind of weird, but I'm going to have to dial up the creepiness a little bit. And I'm going to give us some orbs of light. Let's see. I don't even know if we're going to get to the bear, but we'll see. I haven't done a show where I haven't finished the painting yet. I feel like that's kind of lame, so presumably we'll finish. Lemon yellow. I got this cold yellow. It's a really nice color for like light. Pull it back down again. It's a nice color for light. It's not as like bright as the cadmium yellow. That's like my warm yellow. This is the cool yellow. Where's my white? Over here. So yeah, when I choose yellows, I have the option of lemon yellow, which looks like a lemon, or cadmium yellow, which looks like a school bus. I chose the lemon one. Just want to give people more insight into my brain. I asked because the same symbol is used on the robes of the Pope. Was wondering if it's a design stolen and used in blasphemous fashion on purpose. That's very interesting. Yeah, most occult stuff is cribbed from Christianity. I mean, we looked at you guys are you're tying it all together because we started out with the Illuminati medal, right? Where is that? Put that over here. You know, this would be like, honestly, like the ultimate example. Like people see the eye in the triangle and they think it means like something evil, but it originally was a symbol for God and like the eye of providence. So yeah, most occult symbols are taken from Christianity or from other stuff. I don't know if people know this, but there are a few really cool examples. I've posted about them on Twitter before, but the pentagram even is a good example in the legend of, I think it's Sir Gawain. Is that how you say his name? Gawain? The medieval knight of Arthurian legend, or maybe it's in the legend of the Green Knight. But one of those knights has the pentagram on his shield, and it's a symbol for Christ's 5 wounds. Of course, if someone non-Christian was here, they would probably feel defensive and say, well, it's actually, the pentagram has non-Christian origins. That is true. That is true, actually. It's used in a non-Christian context. I'm just saying that it was also used in a Christian context. I'm talking about, when I say cribbed, I'm talking like modern, like weirdo, like dark magicians. I'm not talking about like in Scandinavia, they used to call the pentagram the elf cross. And it was, well, I don't know if they called it that before Christianity, but whatever. It was associated with elves and stuff. I'm not talking about that kind of like folk magic. I'm talking like evil, like weird, like black magician stuff. That stuff is like all cribbed from Christianity. And actually, if the guy who was talking about doing ritual magic stuff is still here, that was also part of how I eventually got out of it. Is like, I was like, well, I have this pile of like cool things I learned from all this stuff. And then eventually I was like, this is all just like cribbed from like theology. Like I could have gotten all the cool stuff is like you could have gotten it from like other places, and they basically just mix it in with all the other things. So the thing is, if you start doing the like symbolism and looking for signs and secret society stuff with society, you have to be really careful, honestly, with yourself, because it's always on this, frankly, like schizophrenic razor's edge, where you can get right up to the point where you're like, well, obviously this isn't a coincidence, but you never get like the full hardcore confirmation. And sometimes you get things like here's a good example. There's a society called the what's it called? I'm almost tempted to get the book off my shelf, but I'm not going to. I think it's called the Fabian Society. There's a British society, I think it was called the Fabian Society, and their logo is pretty, if I'm thinking of the right one, their logo is pretty unique. Their logo, you can look it up if you want, is like a black wolf wearing a sheepskin on its back in like a very particular way. And I've seen that used in other places. So something like that, where it's like a dark wolf wearing a sheepskin in this way, tied in this way. Obviously, there's it's like the same. That, then you're like, okay, yeah, for sure. But for little things like, even like a spiral triangle, like, yeah, I totally get it. And I've seen the FBI documents where it's like, yeah, this symbol is used like in this way. But like also, if you're like a designer, like here we are on a painting show, there's only so many ways to configure basic shapes and colors and things like that. So at a certain point, you probably would use that if you were a designer, or if you had like, hundreds of designers over hundreds of years. But then at the same time, that's why you're on the schizo razor edge. They obviously know that, right? So there's always the plausible deniability on their end, where it's like, well, it's just a black cube. Like, we just put a black cube here. I mean, it could have been a red pyramid. It could have been, an orange rectangular prism. It could have been anything. It just happens to be a black cube. So you're always going to be on this like schizo razor's edge, and you have to be kind of like careful with yourself, because you can go like completely insane. That does happen, actually, for real. Same with the inverted cross, aka the cross of Peter. Yeah. Have you guys seen that? There's a 4chan comic about that, I think. I actually made a tweet about that also, where a goth girl's wearing the... wow, I forgot all about that tweet. That was like one of my first like really viral tweets. Like a goth girl's wearing the inverted cross, and someone's like, yeah, that's actually a Christian symbol. It's all over the Vatican. I think there's even one on the Pope's chair. Cool. How much of symbols' meaning do you think is essential, and how much is basically just cultural connotation? It goes either way. It really depends. There's like a Jungian... For me, well, in my mind, when I'm doing analysis of symbols and even like working on my dreams and things like that, it sounds really dramatic. I don't like work on my dreams. I just sometimes have crazy dreams. I should tell you guys, yeah, I've been having really crazy dreams, honestly. But for me, there's like, it's almost like there's like 3 different facets, I guess you could say. There's just straight up Jungian. And I guess when I say Jungian, I mean just like the general kind of like collective unconscious-y, but even like biological nature of symbols. Like a snake has like a Jungian element to it. I mean, that's actually a really bad example because I'm about to talk about Bible symbolism. So let's pick a different one. Like fangs, any animal that can hurt you has like some Jungian connotation to it, because your ancestors spent a lot of time avoiding animals that could kill them, and you're an animal, so duh, that's like wired into you to be scared of animals that could kill you, right? That's like pretty obvious, right? I know that's not purely Jungian. I'm just saying like it goes in that folder for me, along with like how symbols have been used in cultures for like thousands of years, but the direction would be flowing from the human mind outward, not from the culture back into the human mind. So what I mean by that is like if you had an experiment where you had like 200 little islands and you set up 200 different societies and there were the same animals on each island, like people would probably use similar symbols for their kings and rulers, and similar symbols for a lot of concepts and things like that, because whether it's for mystical reasons or biological reasons or whatever, we tend to have or purely logical reasons, we tend to have a certain relationship with certain symbols. I mean, lion's a perfect example of that, right? I'm sure cultures that were not connected used the lion to represent royalty for reasons that are unrelated to each other, right? How could they not? Obviously. I'm going to paint in some nails while we're talking here, and then actually I'll put in the dark halo while we're talking. This is a good topic, so I'll put in the halo while we're talking, and then see about moving on to something else. So was I saying? Oh yeah, so in my mind there's like the Jungian folder, and that's kind of all that stuff put together. Like everything from like humans' natural relationship with certain symbols and creatures to biological to, it's kind of just like the weird bio-mind, the bio-mind set of symbols and symbolisms, put it that way. Then for me, there's like the biblical, because I think that the theological component is like real. Like I actually literally subscribe to that. This is not all an act. So there's like biblical symbols and symbolism where like, I think the snake innately has a relationship to the devil in terms of symbolism and what it represents to your brain, and things like that. So I think symbols in the Bible have like an innate character to them and an innate meaning outside of the cultural context, because I subscribe to the theological system. So I think it's real. And then the third would be what you said, which is like cultural symbolism, where like, maybe on some, here's a perfect example for the cultural symbolism. Here's a perfect example. Probably used this before on the show. It's my favorite one. But in African cultures where it doesn't rain a lot, a cloud is like a happy symbol. A cloud represents life and positivity, and a cloud is like a great positive thing. But then in England, where it rains all the time and they're never worried about rain, you have Wordsworth writing a poem about being a lonely, sad little cloud, because clouds are sad because it rains all the time. You're not worried about rain, so when it rains you can't go outside. Clouds make you sad, therefore clouds are sad. So there you have a symbol that's 100% culturally conditioned, because you can take, like I just said, one culture where it's really sad, one culture where it's really happy, therefore it must be a cultural condition to some extent. So I think it's a mix. I think it's those three factors. I think it's those three factors coming together in like a variety of combinations. That's what I think basically. When I have dreams, normally the dreams that I think are significant are the ones where there's like a biblical context to them, or there's like a biblical like symbolism to them, I should say. And actually, I shouldn't say like I think they're significant. Like they are significant usually. And there's normally like a snake, or I've probably said it before on the stream, but venomous animals are really like the tip off for me that I have had a dream where it's not just like random like mental detritus like from the day. I should write them down honestly, but I haven't been. Cool. I've had a few that are about like joining churches and things like that. Actually, okay, yeah, I'll tell you guys. So I was just thinking like, wow, did I really just go down that road? Now I can't think of anything. The other, you didn't ask about dreams, but I'm going to talk about them because it's my stream, and I'm painting in this halo really quick. The thing about dreams and symbolism for them, and really like your own personal symbolism, I guess you could say. Like just dreams is like the main way people normally interact with like their own personal symbolism, is usually you have to kind of explain it to someone else and see what it means like to you, because normally it is about how it makes you feel rather than what the actual like pure informational content is of the symbol. So here's like a really good example. I had a really fucking weird dream the other day. So I'm trying not to curse on the stream. Had a really weird dream the other day. I'm gonna tell you guys about it right now. So I had this dream. It was really short. Normally my dreams are just like vignettes, kind of like my pictures. And I went to my bathroom in the dream. So I went to my bathroom. I should be using a bigger brush for this, by the way. I don't want people to be able to see the brush strokes, but I don't want to change. I want to keep it moving. We're already like an hour and 30 minutes in. Maybe I spent a little bit too much time on the lion, but I wanted it to look dope, so who can say? So I had this dream where I went into my bathroom and I took my shirt off and I was looking at my chest, and my chest had this hole in it, like literally. Like it was exactly like if someone took a pint of ice cream and if pushed it into my chest and then took it out and left that hole there. I had that hole in my chest, just like a divot in, exactly like the shape and depth of a pint of ice cream. So I was looking in the mirror and I had this reaction of like, whoa, I forgot all about this. That was my reaction. I was like, oh, I forgot I have this like wound in my chest. Like, what the fuck? I totally forgot about this. And I was looking at it in the mirror in my dream, and it looked like it was like healing pretty well, actually. So like the whole inside of this like pint of ice cream shaped divot in my chest was healing up pretty well. It was like kind of pink, and not to be too gross, but I could see like little bits of like muscle or something like healing, like, you know, like a scar kind of. It looked kind of like a healthy scar healing up. But the whole thing, like the whole inside, the whole inverse inside cavern of this shape was this like pink scar tissue that was like healing up. So I was like, whoa, I totally forgot about this, and I haven't been like taking care of it at all. Like, what? And I got really worried about it, and then I was looking at it and I was like, man, it's healing up pretty well, actually. It's healing up fine. And I was like, wow, I got to be more careful. Like, I was just wearing my shirt, like, and I was looking at the spot where the scar tissue ended and started touching my skin at like the edge of this like ice cream pint shaped hole. And I was like, wow, like, is this healing well? I guess this is healing like pretty well, actually. All right, you know, let's. And I was like being really careful, and I was like, yeah. It's like, okay. I was like, it's healing up fine. I guess I'm good, actually. Cool. But I was like, wow, I got to be more careful. I completely forgot about this. And then I woke up, and I was like, oh, that's a weird dream. I didn't really think much of it, right? And then I didn't really think about it at all. And then I was talking to my wife, and she told me about some dream she had, and I was like, yeah, I had a crazy dream last night too. And I told her about it. And as I was talking to her about it, so what I'm going to do right here is my favorite way to paint feet. I'm going to put the big toe in, and then I'm going to come back and put the little toes in. Normally I wouldn't be outlining so carefully on the stream. I try and do it fast and loose, but I'm kind of just going with the energy right now. I think this is gonna look pretty dope. So I told my wife about the dream, and as I was talking about it, what I realized was that what my dream meant was that I have all these, like, not to be like touchy-feely hour, but like I have these like emotional and spiritual and like inner things that happened to me, right? And it caused me all this like pain, you know. I'm being honest with you guys right now. And I moved here and I changed my life up, and I've kind of been like frustrated, I guess, kind of, because I'm like, oh, why am I still like angry about this thing that happened like 2 years ago? Or why am I still like, you know, angry at this person? Or why am I still like feeling this way or that way or everything? And what I realized, what my dream was telling me, was that it's like a wound that I have to like let it heal. And like I wasn't conceptualizing it that way, though. I was just conceptualizing it as like a switch. Like, oh, like I had all these problems and I was kind of this way, and now I flipped the switch, and now I'm never going to think about that again, because whatever, I'm in this different state and different vibe, and I'm not going to think about that anymore. But it was really interesting because I was like, oh, it's like my dream was telling me that yeah, it's like the way a physical wound would heal. That's how these like parts of myself internally are healing, and I have to like take care of them, and I have to like make sure that like my spirit is like, you know, healing is like progressing well, and I shouldn't be frustrated if it's not healing fast, because, you know, if you hurt your arm, you wouldn't be like angry that your arm like isn't healing well. And I like had this like epiphany explaining this to her, and she was just like, yeah, that makes sense. I thought it was just really interesting. So I think that probably, you know, people always ask me about dream symbolism and stuff, and I think that if you think about like explaining it to someone else, or like what the symbols might mean to you, that's kind of like the key to understanding it. No one asked me for that explanation, but it's my stream, so I told you guys. Boom. And it really changed up my perspective a lot, actually, that random dream I had. Other ones have been about like churches and stuff like that, joining churches and things. I've had a lot of really interesting dreams like that too. cool. And then sometimes they're just random. I had a dream last night I was going to like fight this guy because he was like having an attitude with my sister. Didn't mean anything. All right. Enough dream talk. What's that comedian? This comedian has a joke where he's like, every time someone tells me about their dreams, all I hear is like, here's something cool that didn't happen. So I don't want to go into it too much. Make your first 3-hour stream. The chat wants it. Maybe we will. Let's see. The lion's taking a lot longer than I thought. I'll keep it natural. We'll see how it goes. Actually, I'm the only one here in my house. My wife took my dog, and not like a country song. She will come back, but I'm the only one here right now. Okay, I'm going to put the claws in here. Looking good. Looking good. This actually looks dope. It looks dope now, right? It just like started looking dope. Boom. Boom. Anyone else can ask me like anything they kind of want. I kind of nail. I mean, I have stuff to talk about. I'm not gonna like run out of things to talk about, but I mostly got the symbolism stuff I wanted to talk about out of the way. We got this like evil empire lion getting like redeemed. I mean, it's just a good time. Like I said, it's pretty much all we can hope for the society at large at the moment. Okay. Yeah, this is tight. This is tight right now. Okay, so here's the other thing I'm thinking about. Background, it's kind of not ideal for me to just start thinking about at the end, but also because, not the end, but the end of the lion, but also because of the way that the painting works. You could also imagine the inverse. It wouldn't be natural for me to like build up the background and then paint over it, because I could have done that, but I didn't really want to. I'll come back and think about that. Okay, am I gonna paint the bear right now? Let's do it. The bear won't be anywhere near as intense as the lion, so technically I try and make these 2 hours. It's 1 hour and 45 minutes, but yeah, let's feel out what it's like if it's a little bit longer. I mean, I'm not gonna stop right now. I could just like cut in and just like end it, but I don't know. Why would I do that right now? Yeah, just so people know, I will be looking at the chat while I'm painting. If you want to ask me something, I mentioned this before, but I think people have like come in slowly over time. You have to put @Owen Cyclops. So RKD just put @Owen Cyclops, and I saw that. Mind War 911, nice username, or 911, didn't. So I wouldn't see that. So you have to put Owen Cyclops if you want me to see it. You're always so positive and calm. How do you keep that way? It's a good question, dude. Well, how do I that's a good question. Have I ever thought about that? Oh, you're going to ruin it. Now I'm self-conscious. No, I'm just kidding. I'll answer that in 1 second. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking right now. I'm going to throw down a wave right over here. By the way, if anyone came in late, you can just look at like the first 5 verses of Daniel 7 on your phone and see what I'm painting right now. I'm not going to go back into it because it is like a show, but if you don't know what we're doing, you just came in late, you can check out Daniel 7. That's what we're painting right now. So I'm going to throw in a wave right here because they're coming out of the sea. What I'll do is I'll probably put a cloud over here. This is actually what I'm going to do. It's going to look dope. I'm going to put a cloud over here, have the wave pattern coming out. We'll put the bear up here. He doesn't need to be as big as the lion. And then down below, I'll have just a really, really sparse, just almost like an outline figure. And that'll be Daniel, like he's like dreaming. I'm not even going to make him look like too realistic. It'll almost be like a comically simple like outline laying dude. No, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to grab a little bit of a bigger brush. Bear is kind of like a funny animal for me. I never paint bears ever. So I actually am going to look it up in the Symbolism book once we get to it. Kind of a weird symbolism animal. Here it just represents like another empire. So it doesn't really matter honestly for the painting what it represents, but makes me think of like maternal instincts in a way, like a mother bear. It's like a fighty forest animal, but to be honest with you, it's not really integrated into like what I would call like my symbol set. It doesn't really come up in, not that I do this anymore, but it doesn't come up in like even astrology or any really occult symbolism, or not that I would be down with that, but it just doesn't come up in there really in my mind. Even like esoterica comes up in folklore. That's really actually what it is. I guess the bear to me is more of like a folklore animal than like a theological animal. I do have those kind of like broken up in my mind a little bit. So I'm going to paint in this blue cloud right now. It's going to look dope. Oh yeah, someone asked me, how do I stay so upbeat and positive? Honestly, I've kind of always been that way a little bit. There was times when I was really depressed. Probably praying and having a worldview where like I actually think that God exists is a big factor. To be honest with you, though, I was like that before I was praying a lot. So I'm not. I mean, you should do that, but I'm just trying to be honest with you. Yeah, I think honestly the fact that I've always in my mind, even before I was Christian, like lived in a world where, like in my mind, I really actually do think like all the spiritual stuff is real. I think that really does just like color my view and like situation. Also, I spend a lot of time because of the mysticism and stuff, like reflecting on my mind and how I like do things and think about things. And I live with this like beautiful woman who I'm married to, so that's not what I'm getting at. But it means I'm in a lot of situations where like, let's say I get like really frustrated about something, not with her, has really nothing to do with her. Let's say I get really frustrated about something random, and get really like angry or mad or something, and then like we have to go to the store or something. And then I'll get back and like I will like always like reflect on like how I am and like how I'm being, and then I'll be like, oh, because I was really mad about this like random thing, I like didn't get to enjoy this like other experience. And it's been a lot of time that I've pretty much only read like religious and like theological texts and mystical stuff. It's been over 10 years for sure. So whether or not I was on the right path or not, I was always thinking about my mind and how it like affected my experience. And I think just like choosing to have a positive outlook honestly is really kind of the answer. Even when things are not really going well. I think also honestly it has something to do with like the aesthetics, maybe in a weird way, because like even if things are like really shitty for me, or even if something's like not going really well, I kind of still can enjoy like the like having that experience, I guess. Like like if I was with someone, like let's say like what's something that happened one time, like we got stuck somewhere, like our car broke down or something, I mean, that sucks, but also it's kind of cool in a weird way, right? Like, every human experience is, like, kind of cool. I mean, unless you have to, like, go to the hospital, which I had to do for a long time. That probably has a lot to do with it also. But outside of, like, being sick and shit, like, most things are actually, like, pretty cool, honestly. Like, even if, you don't like it, like, there was this dead bird on my lawn, and I had to, like, pick it up and, like, deal with all this, like, gross, disgusting stuff. But afterwards, I was like, yeah, honestly, it's kind of cool. I just like doing things, and I'm kind of always happy in my mind, like, thinking about things. And I guess, though I'm kind of rambling, but I guess the short answer is I feel like I've kind of made my mind like an interesting place. I think that would be my best advice if someone asked me like how do I like stay happy and like be happy. I mean, I could just like sit in a chair and like think about shit for like 6 or 7 hours and be like fully content. So I think if you have that situation going on and you're not like looking towards the outside world for happiness, then you're gonna be in a really good spot. I don't like rely on the world to entertain me. In fact, normally I'm like frustrated when I have to focus on the world. I'd rather just be in my mind or like maybe with my wife. Those are the two things that I enjoy doing, or doing this with you guys. Yeah, that's basically it. It's my random weird answer. Bears make me think of honey. Yeah, they do, bro. Yeah, they do. Okay, watercolor. I'm going to drop some watercolor down right now. Not watercolor paint, but the color of water. I would use cobalt blue for the water. I don't know. We already have these two other blues, though. This is kind of a big decision right now. I want to use the cobalt blue because it has a very lapis lazuli flavor, and I think it'll look really dope, but I think the picture will look more integrated if I just keep rolling with the indigo. That's this dark blue right here, so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to use the indigo, and we'll see if we get away with it. We'll see if we get away with not using the cobalt blue. Let's see. Bears me think of funny. What do you think about lucid dreaming? I watched Waking Life in undergraduate. It was in for a bit. Yeah, I bet you a lot of people that follow me on Twitter watched Waking Life. I bet you it's probably the biggest overlap that we all have, honestly, right? Yeah, so let's see. We're almost at 2 hours. I'm obviously not going to end it right now just because we didn't do the bear yet. Let's see if we can shoot for like 2:30. If it goes a little longer, it'll be the first really long one, but whatever. Lucid dreaming. Yeah, I'm actually pretty into it. I never really got very good at it. The thing is that I was smoking way too much weed for a lot of my life, so I actually just never dreamed. I don't know if people that don't do drugs, you shouldn't do drugs. I'm not trying to make it sound cool. It actually sucks, and I couldn't recommend it less. But for people that have lived a wholesome life and haven't been addicted to drugs, when you live that way, whether you're drinking a lot or smoking weed or doing whatever, normally you don't dream. So I actually spent like 10 years of my life, maybe more than that, just not dreaming ever, like literally never having dreams. Very cursed aspect of that existence that should have indicated that something was wrong to me, but it didn't. So I was always into it conceptually, but I never dreamed. So it was kind of just this idea that I thought was cool. Then when I stopped doing that, thankfully, I did a little bit. The farthest I've gotten into lucid dreaming is I would get to the point where I could realize that I was dreaming, right? So I got to the point where I'd be like doing something random, like I'd be talking to someone, from my high school, let's say, like someone way in the past, and I'd be like, yeah, man, I really like living with you. Like, it's really awesome. And then I'd be like, wait, we don't live together. This doesn't make any sense. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. I just realized. And then it's a struggle not to wake up, as you probably know. It's a struggle not to wake up once you realize that. And I got a little bit past that point. This guy that did a lot of research on lucid dreaming basically said that when you start teaching people to lucid dream, everyone gravitates towards one of two things, which is like having sex or flying, and that it's hard to do anything else because people just do that for the first like huge chunk of time that they can lucid dream. So for me, that was flying. I tried to fly around a little bit, and I got to the point where I would like hover off the ground, and I could fly around a tiny bit, and then I would just wake up. And that's about as far as I got. I kept a dream journal, but I kind of just fell out with it for no real particular reason. So I'm like theoretically down. The only thing is that now that I have these like really weird and really intense like biblical symbolism dreams that I really feel like, not to like aggrandize myself, but I just feel like personally they're not like from my brain. Like I do feel like there is some like weird component to them. I don't really want to like mess with that. So maybe if that stopped, I would get back into lucid dreaming. But I'm definitely theoretically open to it. I have some friends that have some like crazy stories about lucid dreaming, like building like whole cities and like going back to like the same world like night after night after night and stuff like that. So you can go pretty hard on it. It is a thing in Tibetan religion, in Tibetan Buddhism, and in Bon, which is like the non-Buddhist like religion of Tibet. It's called BON in case anyone wants to look into it. Man, this wave pattern looks dope. Look at that. And I'm also going to throw down the same wave pattern over here, so it's going to be nice like coupled. But I don't want to do that before I have something over here on the right, because I want the wave pattern to like butt up against it naturally. Man, look, I even got like the feedback going on over here with the watercolor. That's tight. Okay, I'm going to flip the palette over here. So yeah, lucid dreaming is a thing in Tibetan religion. Like I said, it's called Bon or Tibetan Buddhism. I actually have a book over here on my shelf. It's called Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep. It's by this guy. Great descriptor, right? And yeah, they go hard. I mean, Tibetan monks talk about like studying in their dreams and like meditating in their dreams. There's like a Tibetan translator who said that the reason he could get so much spiritual work done is because he would spend all day translating texts, and then at night when he went to bed, he would be lucid dreaming, and that's when he would do his meditating. He would meditate in his dreams and then wake up and go back to translating and stuff. I mean, that's pretty insane if you ask me. But yeah, someone else mentioned it. I don't think they tagged me. Oh yeah, I heard that lucid dreaming is very vulnerable because while you're unconscious, you're only emotional and you're much more vulnerable to demonic influence. Yeah, to be honest with you, I bet that's a factor. I would have to look into like the theology of it, but I mean, it seems like obviously that would be the case, right? That while you're sleeping and messing around with that kind of stuff, you'd be more vulnerable to demonic influence for sure. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. I don't think anyone else would either. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. Maybe I won't. I can't really tell. But yeah, I feel like my dreams have been helping me work through a lot of stuff and like telling me things about like what I should do, honestly. So I'm kind of reluctant to mess with that at the moment. That's really the thing. Also, what's weird, since we're talking about dreams, it kind of just came up, is that, part of like the Christian path is like repentance and stuff like that. And what's really weird is I have these dreams where like I am doing something really bad. I'm not like thinking of any one thing in particular, but it'll be like I'm having a dream where I'm doing something like bad from a really long time ago. Something that like I think I would have like totally forgotten about like you know, I didn't like kill anyone. I'm not saying anything like that, but just like little things, just like little things you do when you're like kind of being like a piece of shit. Like, you know, maybe you should have done something for this person or you didn't, or, you know, maybe you know, needed to use something and like, you know, you didn't ask a person in like the right way, or, you know, just things that are like some, not evil, but just kind of being like a shitty person. Let's put it at like that level. I don't want to like talk about it too much, honestly, because it's like embarrassing. Just different things, just random different things that I'm sure a lot of people have done. But I'm not excusing myself either. And I'll have a dream about that, and I'll wake up and be like, wow, yo, I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot that I did that. I totally forgot about that. And it'll almost like ruin my day. And the whole day I'll be thinking about it, and I'll be like, wow, like I really did that. I really used to be like that kind of person that would like do stuff like that. Damn. And it's like for a while my dreams were like unpacking these like frankly like sins from like my past, and it was honestly really annoying. It was really annoying. I'm sure spiritually I needed it, but it was really annoying. And I thought that was interesting too for some reason. I mean, when stuff like that happens, I don't think it's purely just my brain, because I don't go to bed thinking about like, you know, things I've done like that. I think there is some like theological component to it, but that was really interesting. That went on for like a month or two, and then like thankfully it stopped. But I just thought that was an interesting dream thing. Yeah. Someone asked me what I think about this. I know Kekul had a dream about the structure of... Yeah, people like discover stuff in dreams and stuff like that. That's a thing too. I really don't know what to make of that actually. Maybe like DNA, or there's a few like scientific discoveries people saw in their dreams and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to focus for a second because I want to make sure to land this bear. I've only painted a few bears. If it turns out bad, you know, whatever. If it turns out bad, I'll just smash the like delete stream button. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I want to get a little bit of the medieval flavor, but medieval bears are kind of a little bit too naive, so I'm not going to go totally medieval. I'm going to go like this. I don't know if I put it high enough. Yeah, I'm just gonna cheat. I'm just gonna bump it up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is put in... I think we're gonna go to 2:30. It's 2 hours right now. We'll go to 2:30. It's like a nice long time. Okay, so we'll put in the top of the bear's head, come down, put in the bear's nose over here. Boom, perfect. It's kind of hard if I don't sketch it in, but whatever. Then, okay, I really want to nail the mouth, because I want him to be like ecstatic, like really happy, but also kind of looking like a little evil and like nefarious, because it is like an evil empire. So I got the one hook. I'm going to have the second hook coming in like that. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to have the bottom hook. And I might even paint in the other side of the mouth. Perfect. I want to give him a nice like big jaw to give him that kind of like scary feeling. Someone mentioned sex nightmares. I guess this is kind of like dream episode also. Oh, perfect, because he had this vision in a dream. That's obviously why I brought that up, right? Yeah, you know what's funny is that I've really never had like sex dreams in my life ever. Not to be like too intimate, but I've never had that ever. I really don't know why. Other people like talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, I've never had that. So I'm going to put in the hair down here, and I'm also just going to come in. We'll kind of just give him this. Perfect. Okay, and I want to get the shape before I start talking about that. Actually, I'll just fill in the shape while I'm talking about that. So yeah, I never had sex dreams, but what's funny is I had a dream where I cheated on my wife with this woman, which I would never do. I mean, obviously I would say that, but I really wouldn't. But what's really funny is that in the dream, I didn't remember doing it. I just like, you know how you kind of like know things in your dream? I just like knew that I had done it. So in my mind, like the dream started and I'm just like freaking out. Like, oh my God, why would I do that? Like, oh my God. And that was the whole dream. Just me like going to the store, and I ran all these errands, but the whole time I was just like really distraught. Just like, oh my God, why did I do that? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what? I would never do that. Like, this makes no sense. And I didn't realize I was dreaming though. And just being like really like profoundly upset. Like, oh my God, I ruined everything. Like, and then I woke up and told my wife, and she thought it was hilarious. And I was like, yeah, I didn't even remember doing it. It's like I cheated on you in my dream, but all I got out of it was like feeling bad. Not that I want to have sex dreams, but I just thought that was really funny. And I had this other dream the other night where this woman was trying to get me to cheat on her with my wife. I mean, trying to get me to cheat with her. And I was like, what? No. I was just so confused in my dream. I was like, why am I here? was like, where am I? Like, who are you? Like, why am I? Why would know? And I was like, kind of like fighting off this woman. It's really profoundly strange, actually. I have no idea why. Could have been a demon, I guess. Make myself sound cool and say it was a demon. Okay. And I want to just make sure I nail this before I jump back in the chat, because I want to get the leg stance. The leg stance is what I feel like is really going to make it look like a bear. So he has that one big leg, then he's got the big chest. Yeah, this is awesome. Actually, technically in the scripture it says a bear-like animal, so I can get away with it not looking like a bear, but I want it to look like a bear. Get the other leg coming up this way. And then normally for bears, you want to get the neck kind of coming down, but then the back, they always have this big like hump on their back, and that's kind of what makes them like look like bears. Something about their skeleton that like peaks up that way. That's perfect, actually. I'm just gonna paint in this bear right now, and I want it to be visually interesting, so I'm gonna try and get it in a little watery in the back. So I'm gonna have the paint be fully opaque up here, and then I'm gonna try and just like water it down towards the back, so we can start to see the paper through the brown, just so it's not like one huge chunk of like brown that's all like the same texture and volume, let's say. More dream stuff. What do you think of deja vu and predictive dreams? I've had deja vu where I felt 100% certain I've dreamt it before. You know, man, it's weird because I've never had deja vu or anything like it, but I know other people have. I'm sure they're not lying, but never had anything like that, so I really can't say. I really wish that I did. It sounds pretty awesome. And when I ask people about it, they can never fully satisfy my curiosity. Maybe it's impossible, but I always have like really intense questions, like, oh my god, you knew this was going to happen? So did you know I was going to like say this? Like, did you know? Like, but they're always kind of like, oh, I don't know. I just kind of knew it was going to happen, I guess. And they can't like fully articulate it. Probably through no fault of their own. It sounds pretty weird. But I have no idea. I've never had any predictive dreams or anything like that, honestly. So I really cannot say. But I'm sure it's real, and I'm sure it's really crazy. So yeah, this wave is like in a really unfortunate spot, but it's okay. Just want a little bit of white room down there at the bottom, so perfect. Had predictive deja vu vividly your whole life. Wow, that's crazy, dude. It's the only reason I'm not an atheist. Nice. Maybe that's why you have it. That's awesome. Saved by deja vu. The RKD story. Okay, and I'm gonna paint this in over here. It's a little bit too much. Perfect. That's perfect. This is dope. I'm gonna get that dark brown in. Maybe I have to wait until it darkens up fully here. There we go. Explicitly predict what people would say down to the letter. That's nuts. Actually, I do have, you know, I don't want to tell the story fully because it's not like my story. I knew this girl, but I did know someone that moved somewhere and then got predictive dreams to a really crazy extent. She moved to Italy. She was American. And she moved to Italy and started having these crazy dreams. And she had a dream that someone died, and then they died. And then it happened again. She had a dream where someone died, and they died. And she was like, I really want this to stop. I really don't like it. But eventually I kind of like lost contact with her, so I don't really know how that played out. I presume it just stopped eventually, but imagine having that happen twice to you. That's pretty unideal. It's pretty not good. I mean, unless you want your life to go in that direction. Okay, so the thing is, this bear has 3 ribs in its mouth. So I'm actually just going to put one in its mouth and put the other 2 like going into its mouth. So apparently this bear, I'm pretty sure it's Persia. It is Persia, actually, I remember. I'm just going to put in, what does a rib look like? Kind of like that. Boom. Make the rib pretty big. So apparently the bear is Persia, and the ribs represent these 3 empires that like also like took over, basically, or something like that. They're not really going to look like ribs, but we'll know they're ribs. I could have put all 3 in his mouth, but I already put the teeth in, and I think this is actually a little bit better. It'll be a little bit more like dynamic. I think the 3, if they were like perfectly stacked up, like my intuition was to make them, it wouldn't really look like anything. And that looks a little bit better. We can get that coming down a little bit over there. Cool. Perfect. I'm going to put the same dark eye in on the bear, and put the same dark halo in on the bear, and then we're closing in. We're closing in. Boom. Yeah. I'm kind of torn right now because I don't want to rush, but I also don't want this to be like crazy long. But it's looking pretty sick. I kind of feel like I shouldn't rush it. So I guess I'm just not going to. Okay. So I'm going to paint in this halo. What I'm thinking symbolism-wise is that I don't want to put in the fully dark halo because I don't want it to look the same. And I think I can get away with that symbolically because this lion was like redeemed. You know, it gets like the human heart and stuff, but it doesn't happen for the bear. So, I mean, in the scripture, it doesn't happen for the bear. He's kind of just fucked. So I think I can get away with putting in like just kind of like a dark, like faux halo. And in the texture, in the text, I keep saying texture because I'm looking at the texture, but in the text, the singular text, it says the bear is rearing up on one side because the Persian Empire never attacked Daniel's people. So it just attacked people like on the other side, I guess. So I'm going to put in the same like outline. And I'll come around this way. Get a little Enzo, if you know about Zen painting, get a little Enzo energy in there. And I'm just going to kick up the dark blue. Yeah, this is perfect. It's already mixed a little bit with the brown, but it's okay. I'm going to just, boom, get it loose. Nice and loose. Almost like ocean-y color over here. Looks pretty cool. Real watercolor hours. Who up? What time is it? Oh, it's only 9:12. Cool. Probably wrap this up by like 9:30. That's kind of the goal. We started a little bit after 7, so it really is like 2 hours of painting. See, anything else I should talk about that I've been thinking about? I mean, just the current society stuff, honestly. We hit dreams pretty hard. Any other dream stuff? Not really. I did have a dream about joining a church that could have been prophetic because I really remembered what the church looked like, and this monk said something really crazy to me. I've told the story on Twitter before, so I don't know if I should tell it again right now, but if that ends up being prophetic, I'll let you guys know. All right, here we go. Boom. I'll get a little bit of that color in here just to make it so he's not like up against like the fully white background. And now I'm going to paint in. All right, so now we're closing in. Wow, that looks awesome with the brown actually bleeding out into the blue. Cool. Cool. Oh, the kicked up blue right there. Dude, yes. Love it. Love color, man. Man, if anyone's depressed, seriously, just hit me up. I'll tell you what paints to get. It's so satisfying just working with color. I truly think it's like a divine activity. God is like an artist who made the universe, right? In my mind, at least. So you can participate in that a little bit. Oh, yes. Yes. That looks tight. The brown and the blue. Oh, yes, dude. Okay. Now I'm going to throw in Daniel. I'm going to put the last wave down. We're going to put in the final details. So I'm kind of thinking about landing the plane. I like using that metaphor. It's often what I use. So if anyone wants to ask me anything else, ask me. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to go off on some random topic or something like that, like social mind control via like mass trauma or more dream symbolism or something. Or my dog. I got a dog. That's awesome. Is there anything else to say about the book of Daniel, though? Not really. I'm feeling out exactly how to incorporate the scripture in with the show. Honestly, I think I'm doing a pretty good job, to be honest with you. But it's always a balance. Like, I don't want to be talking, like reading from the book for like 40 minutes, but I think I did a good job on this episode. It's like the meta critique before we wrap things up. I think I did a pretty good job. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to throw in Daniel as like a really, really nondescript, just like placeholder, kind of like human figure. I'm going to do that just because I feel like it'll be a good style. Not really for any particular reason, honestly, related to him. Sometimes for the biblical figures. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's fine. I can fix that. Oh, I got the glare. Damn, I worked so hard not to have glare. There we go. That's good. So you can see, obviously, I bled it out a little bit over here, but it's not a big deal. In fact, I'm going to work with it right off the bat. Just going to work it out. I'll be like laying on this like dark bed. Sometimes for the biblical figures, I either like to go one of two directions. Like, I don't want to say respectfully, but I guess it is kind of like respectfully, like making them in like fully fleshed persons and giving them like a personality, or just make them like the placeholder like idea of a human figure, which is what I'm going to go with here right now. Someone asked me about a pedogate video. Nah, I haven't seen that, but if you DM me it, maybe I'll watch it. I mean, I'll watch it if you send it to me. Deja Boziri. Who's your favorite writer from each Christian denomination? Yo, that's interesting. That's interesting, dude. Catholic, probably St. Augustine, right? I mean, I'm trying to think if I can think of anyone else. Probably St. Augustine for Catholic. I mean, Confessions, I love it. I think it's really, really great. I'm trying to think if anyone like modern comes to mind, but I feel like I kind of have to pick St. Augustine. There's also a tip if you're drawing. If you don't know how to do the anatomy of something, you can just do it on your own body. Like I just put my hands out to see if I should put the thumbs out or in when I make this picture right now, because I want his palms to be up. He's like laying, sleeping, so I'm going to put the hands in like that. Yeah, so Catholic style, probably St. Augustine. Maybe if I thought about it, I could think of someone else, but that's the first one that jumps to mind there. Protestants, a little tougher, but I think, honestly, probably C.S. Lewis, man. I know that's like, that's like the normie, like basic stuff, but actually he rules. I don't know if people really feel that way, but it's not really very esoteric, but who cares? He's awesome, man. His book Mere Christianity is so good. I recommend it to people all the time. I think he has a really good way of explaining things. Put in the torso. Almost going like Keith Haring style on this guy, but I don't like to call it that. Yeah, perfect. It's a little sleepy guy. And Orthodox, haven't read as much there. I read kind of the 101 stuff. I read Timothy Ware. Thought it was cool. I read what's it called? An Introduction to God. I guess for Orthodox, I mean, I should pick Seraphim Rose. That would probably be the real answer. I mean, Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future is literally like such an integral part of like, honestly, like who I am. It's insane. Yeah, Seraphim Rose jumps to mind. If I had to pick someone less well-known, I mean, he's well-known, I guess, but Josiah Trenum is really, really, really awesome. I think people would get something out of him even if you're not Orthodox. Josiah Trenum is really cool. His book Rock and Sand was like such a clarifier for me. It like clarified so much for me. Not even that I took on all the views of it. You know, I'm still like sympathetic to Protestantism in some ways. But just like the way it was written and the way it like gave the Orthodox view of the Protestant Reformation, I thought it was really awesome. It was a really, really cool, unique book. So yeah, that'd be my answer there. Never noticed how hairy my arms are. Yeah, they are, dude. It's the virility, not to sound weird, but yeah. Anything else here? No. Yeah, C.S. Lewis is really dope. Someone has a channel where I guess they took part of his like radio speeches and like animated them, and he's really good. He's like low key, like very based. I don't know if that would be expected if you haven't checked him out, but he has one where these people are talking about getting a divorce. I haven't watched it in a long time, but it's something like it starts out, and he's talking, and he's like, "So these two people I know, are talking about getting a divorce, and everyone was talking about it, and someone said, well, don't they have a right to be happy?" And he's like, no. It's like, no, they don't. Why would they? And he like jumps off from that point. So that was really awesome. So I'm gonna throw down the wave pattern over here. Get like the double wave situation going on, and then I'm gonna basically be wrapping this up. We're almost gonna be right on time. It's 2:17. It'll probably take me 10 more minutes to wrap this up, and then we'll wrap this up at a cool 2:30. If anyone wants to ask me anything else, you can. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to go off on a random topic or just talk about what I'm painting right now. So yeah, I'm going to put in the same wave pattern. This is the cool thing about the gouache paints that I'm using. They're called gouache, in case you haven't watched the earlier episode where I talk about my pigments and paints and stuff. It's the first 2 episodes. Is you can use it like watercolor. So I always have the option. It goes on thick like mineral pigment, like old paints. It goes on thick. But I always have the option to throw down the water, and then I can deploy this like very interesting water texture, which gives me a lot of room to breathe, honestly. Like you can see behind the bear, like look how nice this texture is. It's just awesome. It just looks great. We could have done the whole painting just abstract texture like that. It would look sick. So it's just really nice having that tool. Like it's almost like I can always like pull the ripcord and punch into like that realm of like nice watercolor texture. What do you think of Charles Williams? I don't know about him. Briefly a member of the Fellowship of the Rosy Cross. That's interesting. Wrote about the demonic. Yeah, the Rosicrucian stuff is interesting. Honestly, I don't really like to get into it on Twitter because so many people are like really, really, really invested in it. But maybe I will in a second. All right, so I want to make sure I make the right moves here. I was gonna put a little face on Daniel, but actually, I really, really like how it looks without the face, and I am just gonna leave it. Kind of makes him like an ambiguous, like mystery figure. I was gonna put in some clouds below, but this watercolor texture looks really tight, so I'm just gonna leave that too. Basically, I guess I have to just think about what I want to do in these larger white spaces. I don't want to leave them white. It actually looks dope. I could just be like, okay, well, I'm done. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm tempted to throw down yellow because it's like a vision. It's like a luminous vision. I feel like I should do that, and then it kind of marries it with these light fixtures here. I think what I'm going to do is use the cadmium yellow, that really warm yellow. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I like it without the face too. All right, Ben approves. Cool. Okay, so sorry, it sounded like I was being really sarcastic, but I actually wasn't. I like when people in the chat like tell me what they think. Okay, so I'm gonna drop this school bus yellow down, and I'm gonna try and just deploy this very, very washy and loosely. So this brush is not what I want. I want a fat bazooka brush right now. I want to be dropping indiscriminate bombs on the populace. Really, I should use this, honestly. I actually should use this, but I'm gonna wuss out. I'm gonna be a wuss, and I'm gonna use a smaller brush. Oh, but should I have the courage or not? I can't tell. It's like I really need a brush like in between these two. Actually, that's what I really need. But I think it's smarter actually to use this one. This is still bazooka status. So will the background be filled in? Now what I'm going to do is try and get like a little hazy color going in. The thing is with the painting style, theoretically I could fill the background, and I actually thought initially I'd put like some hills or something like that in, but the problem is that in a painting like this, but it's really in any painting, so I always encourage people to make art. So this is something you can think about when you're making your own art. Contrast plus level of detail tells the eye of the viewer what's important and where to go. So right now I have a really good setup there where boom, your eye goes over here to the lion, it's got the detail painted in. Boom, your eye goes over here to the bear's face, got the detail painted in. Then we got Daniel, it's got a lot of contrast with the dark line, but it's thicker, there's not a lot of detail. So we have a nice hierarchy. You kind of always want to think of your pictures as having like a visual hierarchy. If you're looking at some art, also if you're making art, you should look at a lot of art. And sometimes if you're like, yeah, I'm not really responding to this picture, you should ask yourself why. A lot of times, the answer is going to be because there's not a clear visual hierarchy. Your eye hits the image and your eye's kind of like, oh, where do I go? I can't really tell what's important. I can't really tell. It's kind of like writing. If you read a book, if you read 100 pages and you put the book down and it was all just the same level of importance, it's a very particular style and you might be like, I don't really get it. But it's nice when a writer, either explicitly or by virtue of their craft, is able to communicate to you, hey, by the way, this is a really important thing that's happening right now. Maybe it's the tone or the scenery or something. So in pictures, we do that also. And I have a really nice visual hierarchy going on here in terms of importance, like boom, a lot of stuff going on here, then shoot through soon. So if I put in the background, what I would be worried about, since you asked, is let's say I put in like a hill right over here, and if I start putting in like little trees, and I put in another hill, and I put in little trees, and then I put in a little cloud, and I put in a little cloud, and I put in the sun, and I put in all the little rays of the sun, I think it would cloud that a lot. And I just kind of like where I'm at right now. I think it would cloud that a lot, basically. So, and also that's kind of what I would normally do. Whenever I do the painting show, I like to kind of do things that I don't normally do. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to kick in this really warm yellow. Looks good. Looks good. And I'm kind of just going to like brush it in and see what happens. I'm just going to start over here. It's still actually really bright. It's kind of hard to. There we go. Because I want it to be like kind of like a luminous vision. Like I said, like he's kind of like almost like lost in this like luminous vision. And it's actually really intense with the yellow. Not that's a bad thing, but I'm going to pick up some of it. Yeah, there we go. It's perfect. And I have a feeling yellow is not going to be the main color that's going to work. What I should do is put down water first. So I can actually wet the fibers of the paper first. That's what I'm doing right now. And then when I come in with the yellow, it won't be as intense. But it's not exactly the color I need. I mean, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's not exactly the color that I need. Come down a little bit over here. Actually, I'm going to be a little bold, and I'm going to try and get a little bit of the indigo bleeding out like that. I think that's going to look dope. A bit more of that like accidental flavor going on. Yeah, there we go. I was kind of thinking some kind of like more yellowy green. Now that the indigo is out, it's a little bit cut a little bit with the indigo. That's nice. I could even throw in some like green, but then I don't know. I'm kind of worried about that. Yeah, this is good. This is good. And here I'll get a lot of the indigo out because it'll just look badass. Even from the ocean, get a little bit of that indigo up. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I didn't want the yellow to compete with the yellow down here, but actually I really like this like visionary, kind of luminous, weird space that we're now inhabiting. Over here, throw it down. Yeah, it looks good. It's almost like a golden yellow. It's really hard deploying golden colors because either the gold looks too green or it looks too brown or anything like that, but with the indigo kicking up, we got this kind of like oceany green, and I really like it a lot, actually. I really, really like that a lot. Yeah, it looks good. I'm looking at the screen right now just to make sure it looks dope. Here I'm going to get a lot of the indigo because I wanted to not confuse the eye with the luminous orb. That went really well, actually. And same deal over here. I'm just going to keep kicking up more and more of the blue. So eventually, by the time I get down here... Actually, I'm glad I looked over there because I forgot there was yellow. I actually shouldn't do what I was going to plan. I was going to just keep getting it darker and darker, but it actually would be tighter if it bleeds in with the yellow. Yeah, we got that bleeding out of his hand. It's perfect. It's like he's getting like picked up almost like into this like visionary light or something. Yeah, it looks dope. I'm going to do it near his face. Cool. And then over here, we're getting near this little orb, so I'm gonna actually just maybe even too much. I might even have too much yellow, but it's fine. I'm gonna kind of like light it up over here so people know that's like the spot. I might even paper towel that just so it's not like too much color in the background. But I really like that. I really like that a lot, actually. That's good. Alright, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kick up this dark color here. And then I'm going to hit it with the paper towel, and I think that's the move right there. Let's see how that looks. That looks good. Nice. Okay, but I'm going to dry it up a little bit. This is something you can do if you're working with watercolor. You'll figure out your own like style with it, but you can like dab up the color a little bit, and really what I want is like a nice transition. But the thing is with the watercolor, you can't work it too much. I feel like if I get in with the brush and I start like going back and forth with the brush, then you're going to start to get, it's not going to look as natural basically. But I'm kind of going to do it anyway, whatever. Someone called me out so bad, they were like, that's the Owen Cyclops move, is say like you don't want to do something and then do it. That's what I do. That's what I'm doing right now. Looks pretty good. Pretty cool with that. Yeah, that looks good. I like that. Yeah, someone said it looks like a completely different painting now. Yeah, that's how it happens. It all comes together at the end. Remember when I started and honestly like the lion was like, oh, is this going to be good or not? But yeah, it all comes together at the end. Yeah, this looks sick. You know also, who said that? The Big Tony. Yeah, dude. And someone else said, yeah, the yellow gives it a little bit of a different vibe. So I love that people are watching me do this because, you know, normally I'm like alone when I'm doing art and like I notice these things over time gradually, but I'm not talking with anyone about it. But part of what I think that you guys are probably responding to is that there's just this one little spot right over here. And this is also why if we were doing certain styles of painting, we would never paint on white, but it's something you should consider if you're working with colors and stuff. Part of why it looks totally different now, so a few things just happened. This is so dope, I get to explicate this right now. So a few things happened while you were watching that. A, the white is now functioning as a color. Before, it was like you wouldn't have seen the white as like the highlights. Like the arm wasn't white and Daniel wasn't white. It just happened to be that the picture was on white paper and the background was showing through. But now that we've toned down the background, or toned it up, whichever way you want to say, now it's like the white is active. The white is like an active participant in the color scheme. So the ribs are now white. He's white. The hand is white. So it's part of why I think probably some people are like, oh, it looks totally different. I think that's probably part of what you're responding to. Also, it gives it a way more natural range. On my website, I have the still life drawing tutorial. But basically, you know, all of art, 2D art really, or most of it, is really about like the lights and the darks and stuff. So before, we had the darkest dark, which is these dark indigos, against the white background of the paper. So all over the picture, the halo, this wave over here, everywhere that the indigo is touching the white, it's like if you're making music, you have the lowest note against the highest note together right there, and it's like screaming out for attention. But now that we put the background in, it has way more of a natural range. We have like a good amount of darks, a good amount of mediums, and then we have the arm and the body and the ribs and the teeth functioning as like the little bit of white highlights on the end. Actually, you know, you really should always like think of metaphors and stuff when you're working, in my opinion. It's actually just like an orchestra or something like that. If you had an orchestra and you sat down, you wouldn't have like 25 piccolos and like 50 flutes and then just a few of the other lower instruments, right? That's kind of what the painting is like when you have all the white. The white is like the brightest spotlight that you've kicked on. It's like the piccolo. It's like the highest thing. I could keep going with metaphors, but I think you get what I'm saying. So by toning down the background, you put everything in a more like natural state where, you know, now the white is like functioning as it should. You have this middle tone. I think I kind of repeated myself enough, but yeah, that's really dope. It's part of why I like doing the painting show live, is because people get to like see, you know, how the picture making process is changing and activating and stuff like that. Boom, we're right on time. It's 2:30 right now. 2 hours and 30 minutes, i.e. So it took about 2 hours. I think that's probably the amount of time it's normally going to take is 2 hours. I said in the beginning, like when I first started the show, I wanted it to be 1 hour. LOL, it's never going to happen. But yeah, this looks dope. So I'll kind of wrap up talking about it. I pretty much did, and then I'll see if there's any questions for me in the chat, and then we'll wrap this little party up right now. Yeah, I think this looks sick. Layout wise, it really all came together. I really like that he's this like enigmatic dreaming figure over here, and I really like the bear. Bear came out really awesome, actually. I really nailed that bear color, and I like the gradient I got going on. His halo looks really awesome. This is also a really good example of things that like happen kind of like accidentally as you're going along. Like if I sat down before and planned this out, I never would think like, oh, I should make the bear's halo like brown and blue. I never would have done that. But if you leave room in your work for the materials to kind of speak to you as you're going along, you'll just kind of pick up and gather these like cool things like as you go along. So that's really awesome. I really like how the line came out. I really like how this hand came out with the heart going in. I really just like it all, honestly. I think it all... Oh, I didn't put in the little toes over here. I'll put in the toes. Actually, I'm going to leave it because I don't want to put in the bumps and then have all the focus be going down there. So I'm actually just going to leave it. Should I leave it? Yeah, I'm just going to leave it, actually. It looks good. Otherwise, yeah, I really like how this came out. The color scheme's pretty cool. The back has kind of like a parchment-y feel almost, but yeah, man. And the symbolism, I got the lion being like redeemed and stuff. I'm just making sure I kind of recap everything. It's kind of like evil empire bear over here. Next week, we are going to do the other two animals from Daniel's vision. So I didn't read them before, actually, because they sound way cooler than these two, and I didn't want to like get everyone all hyped for something I wasn't about to do. But the next two are a 4-headed leopard with 4 bird wings and a really crazy creature that's kind of basically like a dragon. It's like a tripped out dragon. So we started out with the 2 more normal animals, and that's what we'll do next week. Otherwise, though, yeah, man, I'm stoked about how it turned out. Any questions in the chat? Let's see if anyone asked me anything. Otherwise, we're about to wrap this up. This is definitely a successful one. Also, I think the horizontal format really works. It's just kind of now occurring to me that the screen is horizontal, right? So it kind of fits more with a horizontal picture. It did take a lot longer, but I think it was worth it, actually. So really happy with how this turned out. Let's see. Any questions? I'll read out the last few things, and then eventually I'll have super chats. You guys will never like have to pay to talk to me. I think that's kind of whack. So eventually I'll have super chats, but I'm always going to read the chat. But let's see. We'll wrap it up at the end right now. I recommend All Hallows Eve by Charles Williams. Plot involves power of art and nature of purgatory. Sounds dope, actually. Y'all check that out. Also touches on why black magic is whack and baptism beats sorcery. Yeah, okay. Well, that's owencyclops.com. I'm down with that. Have I ever considered making puzzles of your art? Of my art? That sounds really cool, actually. No, I have a bunch of things I'm gonna hit really soon that I've had waiting to be lined up. I want to make some patches. I've had a ton of people hit me up about patches. Is that really the main thing? Little kids' clothes. People with babies ask me for like clothes. Tank tops to work out in. People ask me about that too. Stickers, hat. I'm working on. So I got a bunch of things I'm gonna work on. Puzzle would be dope though. Down the road, yeah, I would definitely do that. I kind of try and release like particular things, like, you know, one at a time. I don't know. It's kind of my mindset, I guess. I want to make sure everything's like really high quality instead of just like throwing it on everything all at once. But maybe eventually. If Owen's high class made jigsaw puzzles or something with paintings, I'd buy them for my kids. That's dope. Yeah, if you have kids and you can think of anything that would be dope to have my art on it, hit me up. Because I would actually probably do that. One of my things is I want to like reach out to kids just because, honestly, it's not even like a money thing. I mean, just because like kids are inundated with so much like satanic stuff, and I think my style like can be really suited for them. So if you have kids and you think of something, like hit me up. When I have them. Oh, you don't even have them yet. All right, put it on the back burner then. Public domain book cover series when? Yeah, that would be dope. When I run out of stuff to do, I'll think about that. I would love patches. Yeah, I'm gonna make some patches. They're gonna be sick. I actually have a few of them sketched out already. I'm gonna have like Virgin Mary, like Defense Squad, or that sounds kind of lame. I'm not gonna have the name of it, but yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I have a few sketched out. I don't really like using the words because then I think it becomes like kind of cheesy, but the images look really dope. All right. Took the glove off, taking the other glove off right now. All right, cool, man. That was really dope. Thank you for coming through, hanging out, watching this live later, whatever the situation is. Yeah, I think this is going really well. I really love doing it, honestly. It's a really cool part of the studio broadcast situation now. Otherwise, that's basically it. If you watch the whole thing, I'm really amped for June right now because I have a bunch of stuff I'm going to be dropping. I have like I said before, I have a ton of things that are like 80-90% finished. So like I feel guilty when I'm not posting a lot of art, like literally. Like it's really funny. I'm sure you guys would find it funny. Like I actually feel guilty. Like when I scroll through my feed and I'm like, wow, I haven't posted any art for like a week or two. Like what's going on? Like I literally feel bad. That's never gonna happen again. I kind of like hobbled the studio situation, but now I'm back in the flow of things. So yeah, I got a ton of stuff I'm waiting to drop and release. It's all gonna be sick. And that's basically it, guys. That's basically it. I'm really glad you guys watched it. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate that. And yeah, that's really it. Have a good night. Pray before you sleep and have crazy dreams. And I will catch you guys on the internet where we all hang out. Thanks for coming through. And I will see you guys later.